We are here at Cultura Media House for another episode of Business After Dark. Today we are talking about Apocalypse Barbecue. So we will be talking about food, and not just any food. Some will say, or most will say, probably the best barbecue in South Florida at the moment. We have CEO, chef, owner, founder Jeff Budd with us. He's also a longtime friend of mine, very long time. Won't say how many years to not show our age. And with that, I want to start off by asking, so we knew each other in high school days. Won't say the years of that. And I don't remember being invited to like Jeff's barbecue. Come by my house Saturday. I'm throwing a huge barbecue. Like, hey, check out my chef videos. I love food. Like, I love cooking. Like, that I don't remember that about you, right? So where did the food passion come from? And how did this whole journey, Apocalypse Barbecue, begin?
So I think you weren't getting invited because you were boring. So no, I'm kidding.
So they were happening. I just wasn't invited. I fucking hate this guy.
I think they weren't happening because I was on the eating side of everything at the time, right? I was always just looking for things to eat.
Got it.
I didn't really kick into like making barbecue. I grilled every once in a while, whatever, nothing crazy, but I didn't really kick into like making barbecue consistently until I got sick and I couldn't go out to eat anymore because I was immunocompromised, right? So when I was dealing with that, I had to figure out like, damn, I want something to eat that's fire. I can't go to a restaurant and get it. Like now I got to learn how to make it. And that's when that kind of started coming into effect.
No shit. What year was that more or less?
Bro, I got diagnosed with leukemia at fucking 22, 23. So 10, 15 years ago-ish, more or less right now.
Okay.
23, I'm 27. So yeah, 14, 15 years ago, my math sucks. Sometime around then.
Okay. And how did that, so the food really started out of necessity, right? You've always liked food, but the actual business of how, Apocalypse came up started on necessity, essentially.
So yes, right? It started out of necessity, but not at that period in time. Like I had a career. I had blossomed into doing marketing shit. At the time I was with Apple doing stuff in Latin America and the Caribbean for like, all the out of home marketing stuff that we were doing. It was super dope. I had a great life. And then I got sick, and then I got sick again. And then the second time I got sick, when I came back, there was that moment that you kind of get after you go through some crazy stuff and almost die, and you're like, oh, like I should probably be feeding my soul.
Sure.
And so I needed to come up with something that was a little bit more enriching. And so that's when I left Apple and started trying to figure out. I started going into a couple of different ad agencies. I started freelancing and doing a couple of different things. And in my head, I still wanted to do marketing. Okay. And so I was just looking for avenues to pursue that dream. I loved telling stories, and I loved sharing kind of like the identity of a brand in a unique and cool way. So that was really important for me in a lot of stuff. So
that's exactly what we're going to dive into on the Apocalypse brand, because I think unique is definitely a word to describe kind of how you go about things. But before that, let's circle back. I don't know, exactly how much you want to or not get into.
I'm open book. Let's go.
I know that. I was just making sure you were okay with the cameras. How did that go? Talk to me about that sick journey. So you said you got sick and then you got sick again. How does that all unravel? And we've actually spoken about this here and there, but I actually have not gotten the full story from you. So this is super exciting to hear.
All right. Bueno, so as you may remember, back in the day, we used to party a lot.
It was a little bit,
not too much. And it was clear as day to me. I remember it was one night I was getting ready to head out the door to go to Bougainvilleas.
Okay.
And we were gonna party it up. That week, like the 2 weeks prior, I had like a little bit of a cold.
Okay.
And I had this cough. I couldn't shake it, and I just kept coughing, and she was annoying. And so I had gone to my doctor, and he was like, bro, you're here, you have blood tests. We might as well just get that out of the way. It's coming up in a month or whatever. Like, why don't you do your checkup now? And I'm like, great, let's do it. Fuck it. And so he did the blood test, and I left. They had to send them off. And it's Saturday night, getting ready to go to Bogies. And my doctor calls me. No way. Most doctors don't call you Saturday at 9 p.m. And I'm like, hey, maybe this guy wants to get a drink. I don't know.
Yeah.
And he's like, he's like, hey, man, what are you doing right now? And I'm like, getting ready to go out. He's like, cancel that. I need you to go to the hospital. And I'm like, what? And he's like, I saw at the time, right, to paint the picture properly, at the time I was working out heavy as fuck at Elite U with Nick, and I was doing mad powerlifting, crossfitting.
Okay.
Like I was in the best shape of my life. And so
Probably not the news you were expecting then.
oh, definitely no way in hell did I think that was gonna happen. Actually, to show you how ironic it is, I'll get to that in a second. But we're so whatever. I'm just painting the picture. At the time, I did not have this fucking this keg here.
This one pack.
Yeah. So I was doing really good in the gym, and I was lifting strong, and I had just done a powerlifting competition. I came in third place. So like,
sick.
I was moving, dude. You know what I'm saying? And I say all that to say, he calls me and he's like, I'm looking at the results of this blood test, and what I see and what I see don't match. I need you to redo this test, because if this blood test is correct, you can't be in the streets. Like, it's dangerous for you to be in public. I'm like, all right, that's fucking weird, but it's obviously a mistake because I'm the healthiest I've ever been.
Yeah.
So instead of going to Bogies, I go to Mercy Hospital.
Okay.
And I go to the emergency room. He calls ahead. He's like, yo, this patient's on the way. I get there. They run a bunch of tests. This time it's not send them to a lab. They go check everything in the hospital. An hour later, they come back and they're like, yo, it's not a mistake. Like, your blood counts are non-existent right now.
No way.
Your normal hemoglobin levels are like, I've already forgotten the numbers, but like I had almost no platelets, which meant if I had cut myself, I wouldn't be able to stop bleeding.
Okay.
I had no white blood cells, so I was no immune system. Your white blood cells fight infectious disease and shit like that. I was under
Which is why they
1.0.
wouldn't want you out in public anywhere.
In essence, if somebody would have coughed on me, that would have been game over.
No shit. Is that why you couldn't shake the cough and the sickness you had before? Okay.
Probably. And then I had no red blood cells, which meant I had a very low red blood cell count, which meant I had very little oxygen circulating through my body. So my muscles were not getting the strength they were supposed to get, which is, I think in retrospect, I think about where I was and I'm like, damn, if I would have been healthy, like I would have gone to the Olympics for sure.
Right. Because if you were coming in third in competitions and you were not operating at full, capacity,
right?
What would that look like, right?
So the doctor calls me, and at the time I was still young. I was with my mom, and I'm walking out the door of the house, and she's like, what was the call about? And I tell her, and she starts freaking out. I'm like, bro, don't worry. He's probably just gonna tell me I have cancer or some shit. Funny, right? Like, haha, on me, because that's what it ended up being. I stayed in Mercy for about 2 weeks. They ran every fucking test in the book. And they finally, the last test, they checked me for fucking HIV, some crazy viruses from Africa, like everything. They couldn't figure out what it was. And finally they're like, yo, we're gonna do a bone marrow biopsy because the only thing left is this one test. So they did the bone marrow biopsy and it came back with acute myeloid leukemia.
No shit.
And yeah, and it was like a weird, because they have all these different transformations that can occur, and it had some like really weird transformations. Plus it's usually a cancer that you get at a very young age or a very old age.
Correct.
It's not something that generally you get in your 20s. So that was it, bro. They hit me with that diagnosis, and they were like, this is what we're going to do. They ended up transferring me to the University of Miami Sylvester.
Okay.
And I was really, really lucky. I had incredible doctors there. Shout out to Dr. Ronan Swords and fucking Lazarus Lakakis. They saved my life. And they got me set up the first go around because I'm a mutt like most of our friends and family. I have these weird I'm half Brazilian, half Argentine, so everything is so when you go get a bone marrow transplant, it's already hard as a Hispanic because not many Hispanics donate bone marrow, and then it's even harder when you have mixed lineage. So there was a very, very small chance that I could get a bone marrow transplant, which everybody was telling me, yo, that's the cure. So the first time that we went around, I actually didn't find a bone marrow transplant. And so since I didn't have a match, I kind of went through the process, and we did a heavy, heavy dose of chemo. And it was actually not as bad as you would think. I kind of saw it as like a little vacation time.
Okay.
In a lot of ways.
But
I mean, it
disconnect time.
Yeah, disconnect time. I mean, like, as far as the hardships that came with dealing with the illness, I didn't experience that as much until the second round.
Okay.
The first round, there was some nausea and some other stuff, but there was a lot of Xbox and a lot of friends coming through. But it was also a lot of eye-opening experiences and realizing, like, yo, how little time you actually have and how at any given moment they can just, everything can change. So we went through the treatment, and they were like, listen, we did all this stuff. It is very likely that in a year you're going to relapse, maybe less, but fingers crossed, let's hope for the best. And sure enough, 1 year to the day almost, I relapsed. I went back. I was going back every month for checkups. At first, it's like every other day. Then they go to every week. Then I had moved up to like every month.
Okay.
And I remember one of those, I came back, it was about a year after, and they're like, Bobby, it's not looking good. But I got really fortunate the second time around. They were able to find somebody to do a bone marrow transplant. They found a donor.
Were you still on the list from the original, or how does that work? Do they take you off?
No,
and
no,
then
you're
put you
always
back on, or
well, it's not really a list per se. Like in the sense, it's not like we were waiting for a heart,
like an organ.
right? So with an organ transplant, you're on the list, and if a proper organ, like if a matching organ shows up, then they're like, hey, we got you, we got a heart for you. This is more of like they have a database, so you can sign up. There's different organizations that do it. You swab your cheeks and you become part of this bank. And then when someone that needs a donor shows up, they go through all the profiles they have and they're like, okay, there's 10 categories and you have to match a minimum of, I believe, 7 out of 10 categories. That's considered a high risk transplant. The more matches you have, the
10
lower
out of 10,
the
low risk,
lower the
etc.
risk. They're all risky, but kind of evaluating where you're at. If it's less than 7, they won't do it.
Okay.
So they found a match for me that was a 7 out of 10. And they were like, look, we don't know. You're on the less likely side of likely, but there's an opportunity here. And
It's an option.
It's an option.
Right? So
and I was just a big believer in setting your mind towards something and kind of you can will anything into existence. I had that mentality the first go around, the second go around. I was big on like a huge follower of Ray Lewis at the time and how he willed the Ravens into winning that Super Bowl. And I kind of just applied that to what we were doing. And I was like, dude, if you set your mind towards something, you can make it happen. And so I went in with the idea that I was going to do this and I was going to come out a winner no matter what. And I was like, fuck it, give it to me. Let's go. The second time dealing with the cancer shit was not easy. There was no Xbox. It was a lot of fucking pain. I cracked my head on the toilet one time when I passed out.
no way.
Yeah, it was rough, dude.
How does that, day to day kind of look like or whatnot? Is it you're passing out regularly? Is it up and down? Some days you feel good, some days bad, always bad? Like how does that look?
It wasn't every single day. It was like almost every day once it got really rough because the chemo this time was much more concentrated, much stronger doses of chemo, right? At one point I ended up in the ICU and I probably had one of the most humiliating experiences of my life. I had lost a lot of control of my body, especially my bowel movements.
Sure.
And I was in bed and I shit myself.
Sure.
And my mom had to fucking 24-year-old man, and my mom had to fucking clean me.
Shout out mom.
Shout out to mom, but
They never retire.
never,
Always a mom.
always. But going through that and just kind of laying in that bed, not even really being able to respond, was just like, fuck, man. Like that was really feeling like I was on the bottom. And there was quite a few moments like that, right? There was a time when I was very dependent on blood transfusions in order to survive, and they couldn't. I'm B positive, and they couldn't find the right blood type, and so it got really, really scary because no oxygen going to my muscles. Like I couldn't move. I was very weak, and I remember I was super fucking thirsty. Shout out to mom. I was super fucking thirsty, and I couldn't lift a water bottle to my lips, and my mom had to like pour water so that I could drink. And it got scary. We didn't know what was going to happen. And then by some fucking miracle, they found some B positive in Orlando and they airlifted it down and I was able to fucking escape that situation.
Ubered it down.
That was nice. Yeah. So, but yeah, man, the second time around was really fucking challenging. It was really rough, but I am extremely grateful for everything that I went through. I learned that those hardships and those challenges make you or break you. And it's easy to say that. I think we all kind of say that in some like, oh, you can let hardships like fucking make you better or you can let them break you down.
Until you're in the hardship.
Right. And then that kind of gave me the backbone, not for Apocalypse, that's later on down the road, but just for anything that I kind of wanted to do. It took away the fear of jumping.
Sure.
So it was a lot more.
The challenge disappeared.
Right. Because, I mean, I fucking almost died like 8 times in that process, right? So it was a lot of like, yo, man, I'm not... That fear was gone.
You've heard the phrase like everyone else, right? Like, bro, is it gonna kill you?
Yeah.
Right? Like, yeah, it almost did. 8 times,
did.
motherfucker. Now anything that comes down the road, this is gonna be cake.
Yeah.
So first things first, grateful as your friend, that you Ray Lewis this shit because I remember seeing things online and certain posts and even feeling some type of way of like, what do I message him right now?
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of people feel that because this isn't something that, you regularly have in your circle, right? Like, oh, everybody has the friend going through a major illness that, he might not make it out of.
Yeah.
No,
it's
like,
not every
and
day.
yeah, maybe throughout your whole life, you come across a couple of those stories, but it's not like you say, like a day-to-day thing. So it's like, well, shit, would I want to hear from anyone? Like, I'm tired. I can't even lift a water bottle. I don't want to be answering messages. So then I feel like, what's the right thing to say? Do you say anything? Do you not say anything? Did you get any pushback like that from your circle, or was there any change in your day to day besides the obvious, right? Like everything changed, right?
Right.
But friend circle, society, how you saw social settings. I mean, anything in general. What was that like? You went into it with a certain perspective of life. What was that you getting out of it?
So it was interesting because we always had a lot of friends, right? Our social circles were huge back then, and so
Miami's big, but like we were kind of like in the middle of the Miami bigness. So it's like little people here and there, everywhere, different circles. So 100%.
So I actually, the first time around, when you have leukemia, they put you on like basically all the COVID protocols that we just went through.
Okay.
Those all kind of were the same ones that you have as a leukemia patient, only it's internal, right? Like I had to wear a mask to not get contaminated by people around me. Like I couldn't be around a lot of people, social distancing, like all that shit was what they told you in the beginning. But me being hard-headed as fuck, I had 50 people in my room every day.
Right.
So at Sylvester,
you can play Xbox online, but come over,
right? And so Sylvester actually, I don't know how the layout is now, but at the time there was a special room for people who were international patients.
Okay.
And it was a much bigger room because they would travel with like 2 or 3 family members, so it was meant to accommodate. They actually had to put me in that room because we always had so many fucking people just chopping
in
it
and
up.
out.
In and out all the time. And so in the beginning, it definitely was cool because I wasn't really that sick, right? Like I wasn't showing that I was that sick. It stopped being cool the sicker I got.
Sure.
And then I started realizing that when people would look at me, in their eyes, I was already dead. And that was really fucking disheartening, right? Like to have your friends looking at you convinced that this is probably the last conversation they're going to have with you. That shit fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Especially when you're trying to motivate yourself to say like, I got this. And then you don't see that I got it in their eyes.
And it's not like they're telling you it, but these are your friends. These are people you grew up with. I mean,
right.
Kind of what they're thinking or body language and things of that nature in the room.
Yeah. So
was that the toughest part?
One of.
Yeah,
for
I would
sure.
think mentally it's just draining, right? Like
it was definitely difficult. It was definitely a hard thing to deal with, but it was also one of the first opportunities I recognized in being able to change the script. Like I was very vocal about my whole cancer experience as I went through it. I remember one of the first things I did was I made a post like, yo, everybody looks at cancer like it's a monster, and it's a monster we keep in our closets. And I'm going to expose this monster, and I'm going to be transparent about the journey that I go through, because if we don't stop being collectively afraid of this shit, we're never going to be able to get rid of it, right? And I had a lot of beef with the fact that nobody really felt comfortable talking about it, because as soon as you mention it, in my head, I kept thinking about this one scene in The Sopranos where Tony gets skin cancer, right? Like bullshit cancer, but not bullshit cancer,
sure.
but
in comparison,
like whatever, just hopefully an easier to deal with cancer if you catch it early and you're on top of your shit. Which get your skin checked, it's important. But he had a very bullshit cancer. They cut it off, but he was freaking out because he's a fucking boss. If anybody finds out that he has any kind of cancer, he's
weakness.
Like,
it's a weakness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be like that, bro. Like, yo, these weaknesses can be our strengths, and we can lean into these things to make us better. And also, it's hard to be supported, and it's something that I've realized. Steve Jobs always said you can only connect the dots looking back, and it's something that I realized. Like in everything that we do, like in this industry that I'm in now, we're afraid to talk to each other. And I guarantee you, if you talk to DJs, promoters, nightclub owners, architects, doctors, pick an industry, they're afraid to talk to each other because either they're afraid that they're going to give away the secrets,
sure,
which is stupid, or they're afraid they're going to look dumb, or people are going to think they're weak or whatever the fuck. But like, yo, man, if we open up the doors of conversation, all of a sudden, can you imagine if everybody was on one massive network where they were exchanging information? You know how many resources there are for cancer that people don't even know about? Money that's available. One of the biggest roadblocks to people being able to get treatment is being able to have access to funds or places to stay, right? There's grants and all kinds of shit that nobody knows exists. And if we're not telling each other about this stuff, like, you have the internet, but if you don't know what to look for,
right, how do you find it? And there's so much on the internet these days that if you really don't know specifically what you're looking for, it's even harder. You Facts. Come across all this other shit that by the time you're done with it, you forgot what you were searching in the first place.
Facts.
So I could relate to that 100%. Like you said, it's in every industry, right? Yeah. I mean, if attorneys had this one thing, or if architects had this, common ground where they could help each other versus compete against each other, I would think that the pie would grow bigger, even if you still only have your slice. It's a bigger pie, it's a bigger slice, right? So I can see what you're coming from and relate, and I've been dying to say this, but shout out to Mercy Hospital. I was born there.
Okay. The food was fucking terrible, but yeah, sure.
I've also, after the show, remind me, I'll show you a picture of the food. Last time I almost died, I say it like it's regular, was at Mercy. I was there for 6-7 days, huge GI outbreak, every itis you could imagine, pancreatitis, esophagititis, titus. But same thing, 6-7 days there, and luckily, because I've been to other hospitals and it's like, you can breathe, get out.
Yeah.
What the fuck, bro? I'm still going through this shit. Like, help me here. We need your bed, get out. But anyways, I did want to mention that it's a love-hate place for me, right? I came to this world here, and then I've also had probably 3 of the worst experiences of my life there that I remember. But nonetheless, so would you feel, or would you say that you gathered most of your strengths from that experience that propelled you into this next journey, called Apocalypse? Or do you feel like it might have been the perfect storm where it was like things that you had going into it, and then this happened, and then it caused you to put some of those things into effect? Or like, how did that transition go, right? Because you went from literally almost dying, right? And then all of a sudden now you're good, right? What does that look like, right? Because I've heard many stories in these situations where after you're like, I'm going to go run through walls and like I'm the most motivated. And then 2 weeks later, it's like, but I'm good. So like, whatever, bro, I'll just go back to playing Xbox. This doesn't seem to be the case, right? Because you have a very successful brand that wasn't a thing before this part of your life, right?
Right.
So then this part happens, and I don't want to transition from this if you're not done, but I did want to find like, because I can tell you about my Mercy story, how that unraveled everything I'm doing kind of today with Rockwell, right? So I'm wondering, on that deathbed, how much of your business plan was written, right?
0.
Okay.
So it's actually great that you say that, because there definitely was. First, I was in a completely different avenue in my life at the time, right? Like, my dream was to be the world's greatest marketer.
Okay.
I wanted to run my own White and Kennedy type of shit. Like, I wanted to be up there. And so that was my direction for what I wanted to do. Food was not a thought, Food, the food thing was cool in the sense that, I learned how to make ribs, but that was to feed myself and a couple of friends and family.
Because you like ribs.
Because I like ribs. That's literally what it was. Like, I just like fucking ribs, and now I can't go to Flanagan's or wherever to go get some fucking ribs. And so that was kind of, that was where that came to be. But I always knew in my heart at that time that I was going to go back to marketing, that I was going to go back to telling stories. That's what I wanted to be doing. And so, to your point, the first time that I came out of this, before the second really bad one, in that first year, I'd say walking out of it, actually, I'd even say maybe even after the second time as well, I walked out of it super motivated, like, I'm going to do all these crazy things. And then the motivation kind of died as the day-to-day kind of took over.
Sure.
I think I walked away, to your other question, the strengths that I gathered, I think I always had those strengths. They might have been just like kind of hidden behind a curtain.
Okay.
And this helped push back the curtain and say, you can do shit, right? Like, there was a lot of doubt as far as when I was like pitching an idea or something, and I'm like, but is somebody gonna like this or whatever? And then it became less about like, is that person gonna like it? And more of like, if they like it because it's a dope idea, then they're dope. They like it. And if they don't like it, fuck them because they suck.
Right.
And so...
So it was a confidence thing to a certain extent.
Confidence started going up, and that started kind of helping me push forward, which helped me kind of advance in my career. So that was really big and really awesome. But instead of kind of saying I walked out of the hospital and I was like, yo, I'm going to open up my own agency right away. Like, it took me a while. It took the second time going through that to come back and say, okay, maybe I really do need to focus on my dreams, because the second chance or the third chance might not be a fourth chance.
Right.
And then it took COVID to make me realize, to kind of push me into the position of, yo, you're just going to have to let go of everything, which was really radical for me, because I went after a dream, but still in something that I was comfortable with.
Sure. Marketing
was my I think that I happen to be very good at it. I think that happens because I love it.
I happen to agree. And we're going to get into a little of this. You don't market, you story tell. And I mean, the story of Apocalypse. And I mean, I spent a little time on the website and whatnot. And I even wrote down a sentence that I want to kind of get into when we get to that part.
Sure.
But you could read the confidence of your product through your words.
That's awesome.
If you go look at that website, there isn't a doubt in your mind when you get off that page. And I don't mean off like you had to search the whole thing. I mean, like, after 15 seconds of being on it, the owner loves ribs. The owner is extremely passionate about giving a great product. And that he's going to do it his way. And if you don't like it, go eat somewhere else. And I fucking love that. That's you telling a story. I know what I have is good. I know that it's a little bit of a mission sometimes to get it, but it's worth the wait, right? I'm not here telling you it's not going to be a wait. I'm telling you there is a wait, but you're going to want to wait because it's so fucking good, right? And I'm going to do it in a way where I'm going to tell you this story. I get fucking goosebumps, right? Can you zoom in here on this thing? How do you guys zoom in? I get goosebumps, right? Because it's so hard to find that these days, right? Like, I'm lucky to be sitting with people that I feel are very passionate about their business, but there's no like quality, I feel like, these days, or at least it's not like a main focus point. It's more like business plan, profitable, we move forward. Not business plan, this represents me to the highest standard of what I'm trying to put out, and I can make money doing it. No, it's the other way. Like, does it make money? All right, cool. Figure out what the standard needs to be for it to make more money.
Yeah.
And me looking out, it's kind of like, I don't give a fuck if I make money here. I want people to leave here and say, these are the best ribs I've ever had.
Facts.
And obviously, not obviously, but in my opinion, obviously, when you approach a business that way, you're going to make money.
Yeah.
Because people like what you're saying. They want more of it. They're not being forced to shove the ribs down their throat, right? So, but we'll circle into all that marketing, storytelling talk, because I did have that line ready to use for it. But so you didn't start a marketing agency. COVID happens. And where does it go from there?
So I had started this marketing agency. COVID came. All my clients were like, buddy, shit's dope, but we can't do this.
We got nothing to tell a story on.
Yeah. And so that was kind of like life telling me, you gotta really push outside of your comfort zone. Like, starting an agency was hard, right? That was difficult, but you did it with the tools you were comfortable with. Now you got to figure out how to do it with something you know nothing about. I had the idea because I loved ribs, and it was like, okay, I'm killing time. Mostly it was because my wife was making me run errands all day and I needed something to do. I was like, yo, I'm just going to start making some ribs, backyard.
Babe, I'm super busy. I'm working.
Yeah, I'm working. This is making money. You can't tell me nothing. And so I started pushing ribs out of the backyard, and in the beginning, obviously, it was fucking non-existent, right? We sold 1-2 racks. But it was crazy to see how, like, the next weekend it doubled, and then it doubled, and then it doubled. And
you probably saw some of the similar faces coming back.
Yeah.
That's
like,
what really tells you.
People were already hitting us up because we used to do everything by pre-order back then. Because I've never fucking ran a restaurant. I never did any of that shit. I had no idea how I was going to get ready for all this. So I was like, yo, I'll take a bunch of pre-orders. I know if 15 people order ribs, then I got to make 15 rack of ribs, right? Like, that's how you do this. And then I learned that was an incorrect approach, because if you fuck up one of those ribs, then what are you going to fall back on, right? So,
and I bet you learned that lesson after fucking up one of the ribs.
Yeah, exactly. Bro, it's so many fucking mistakes and so many times that I hit my head against the wall because I honestly had no idea what I was doing.
Amazing. Those are all lessons.
All lessons, right? And that's something that I tell people all the time, because I remember my friends like, yo, you're doing this barbecue thing. Important note, I wasn't making any money in the beginning.
Right.
I was
costing you money 100%.
Every single week I was losing mad money. And everybody's like, why the fuck are you doing this? You're losing. I'm not losing, bro. I'm learning.
Yep.
These are not losses, they're lessons.
Yes.
You got to change the way you look at these L's. We've given that term, like, oh, you took an L, the wrong connotation. Yeah, you took a lesson, bro. You could pay $8,000 to go to fucking FIU and take a business class, or you could go do this shit in your backyard and figure it out. It's going to cost you $500, but you're going to really learn this shit for life.
Yep.
And so, that's
And if you don't learn it, at least at that point, this ain't for me.
shouldn't be a business. And so that's kind of how we treated the beginning. And what really kept me motivated was that people kept coming back. If it had always just been a new person ordering, then it would have been like, okay, I guess they liked it once and then they never ordered again. That means it's not that great.
Sure.
But when people start ordering every fucking weekend, you're like, oh shit, like maybe this is
I got
cool.
something here.
Yeah, I got something here. And then when the front of your house is a bunch of cars at 2:00 in the afternoon on a Sunday waiting to pick up their barbecue, you're like, oh fuck, like, we got something, we got to figure something out.
I think this might be a little out of control.
So, and then the next challenge came, like, okay, we had the backyard thing down. Once we kind of started wrapping our heads around it, then we're like, all right, let's just start doing pop-ups. And now we're showing up in the Grove.
Is Apocalypse a thing yet?
So Apocalypse was a thing from the beginning.
Okay.
So the way the name came to be was literally because it was COVID. And I was like, yo, we're in the apocalypse. So fuck it, Apocalypse Barbecue. And that was the idea. So
that I didn't see on the website.
So that's kind of the origin story there, bro. Like I remember that I was walking, my wife asking me to do errands. She's like, I need you to take something to FedEx and I need you to ship it for me. And I had been thinking, like, what am I going to do during this time? I was bored out of my mind. I was like, what am I going to do? I need to figure something out. And I was also wanting to make some barbecue. And as I'm walking out the door, I'm like, bro, fuck the apocalypse. I just want to make some barbecue. And I dropped the box and I'm like, Apocalypse Barbecue. And I went back inside the house. I made an Instagram. I made a website. I fucking started DMing people. I'm like, yo, we're doing this shit. I'm selling ribs. You've had my ribs. You know they're fire. Just fucking tell people you're getting. That's how it launched. So that was
Mr. Marketing blew up the whole company based on a good product and word of mouth.
That's pretty much it, bro.
So maybe, storytelling is great, but if your story's bullshit, people can read through the lines, right? Is it kind of the moral of the story here?
I think what we're trying to do is tell the story, but the truth of the story. And there has to be some things that back that story up, right? We want to put it together in a beautiful package, but we want the contents of that package to be equally as beautiful. So we do believe in quality of the service that you get when you come into Apocalypse and the food that you get when you come into Apocalypse. If you were to open up my phone and look at like my leadership chat and see how much we talk about incremental increases in quality and how much we concentrate on that, it's almost like I have a mental illness. But 1% every day is what makes a massive difference.
And I bet you that's what keeps you sane, because knowing Jeff, right? You don't want to be the same guy you were yesterday.
No.
You're trying to be better as a human, right? So your business has to be better. The experience your business gives has to be better. The product that your business sells has to be better. And in my opinion, brother, that's the only way to grow a business. And you've been a testament of this from day one. This was kind of an idea I saw online that I was like, yo, Jeff's doing food now? The fuck? He's eating it.
Mostly in the beginning, yeah.
I was like, 15 racks for sale, 20 racks. Jeff's been housing them since Friday. What is this? And then I see the location pop up. And was that the first location?
The Grove was the first pop-up location.
Okay.
It was a farmer's market. Then we went to Wynwood. We started off in Box Elder.
Okay.
And then Box Elder moved on in a different direction. And we went from Box Elder to Wakefield, which is now moving on in a different direction. And then we did Wakefield for a while, and I always wanted to exit Wynwood. Wynwood was really great for us to give us cool points and establish credibility. But I always knew that I wanted to be in that family environment. So when people would ask me where you want to open the restaurant, I would always say it's Westchester, Kendall. The most east I'll go is Coral Gables, and I want to kind of be in that area. Mostly focused on Westchester, Kendall. And so I lived in Westchester at the time, so I was able to do the pop-up when my first initial out of my house stuff was happened in Westchester. Then we started going to the Grove and started going to Wynwood. In that time, I moved to Kendall. And so I took it back to Kendall and got to do it there. And then we were really fortunate, after looking through many, many different options, we were really fortunate to get presented with the golf course, Killian Greens, which is where we are now, and open up our first location there.
How did that come about? You pursued it, or they were looking for a tenant and it was kind of a good match? Or, how does somebody that is relatively fresh in business, I don't want to say new, because at that point you had a concept, you had a product, and you knew it was good, right? So the proof of concept was there.
Yeah.
But it was a new business still, right? So you, and even more so having a brick and mortar location per se. How does that happen, right? Like, we're talking and we know, right? But Timmy that's watching right now, he's like, bro, how the fuck do you like get a restaurant, right? Like, so how does that process kind of work? Is it a lot of outreach from you trying to get a hold of certain places? Do you have a realtor helping you? Is there a broker involved? Is Killian posting things and you saw something, you're like, oh shit, this would be dope? Like, how does that marriage happen when a business is looking for a location?
You ever see that movie, The Perfect Storm?
Yes.
So it's kind of like that. A bunch of shit has to happen at the same time and come together. Now, I want to be clear on that, right? A lot of people think that luck is success. I mean, that success is a product of luck.
Sure.
I'd say maybe it's 1% luck. It's a product of being prepared. It's a product of putting in the effort. And it's a product of being ready when luck presents it, when opportunity presents itself.
Yep.
That's what it really boils down to.
I preach that every day, man.
It took...
Be ready so you don't got to get ready.
Facts. Yo, so I'll tell you a couple of different things that happened. In order for us to open a restaurant, we needed money. I was not in a financial position to open a restaurant, right?
You were barely in the financial position to lose the $400 a weekend at your house. I mean,
facts. I mean,
much less a commitment like that. And I mean, we'll get into the details, but like, you don't just sign a place for a month, right? There's like a commitment to it, and you're huge. Like, oh shit, am I gonna be here in 5 years? Like, how does this work, right? Like, so dive into that.
So the first example of being ready when opportunity presents itself was during one of our pop-ups when we started doing burgers, right? Initially, we realized quickly that we couldn't do barbecue every day because shit was a 24-hour cooking process.
Right. And then cleaning process, I could imagine, is a thing too.
Another monstrosity, right? So I was showing up to these pop-ups, right? And I had already been 28, 29 hours, no sleep, cooking all night. I was done. Like I was cashed by the time I was walking in.
Like, bro, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm not big in the food, right? Arroz y pollo todos los días, vaya. But like barbecue, ribs, brisket, things like that, like you have to prep it too, right? Like it's not just throw it on the grill like at your house. You have to smoke it, prep it. It's like an hours and hours thing. And I'm assuming you're doing all that, right? Because your shit falls right off the bone. So that's the way to get it like that.
Right.
So a pop-up would probably be 2 days worth of work, right? A day prepping, half a day executing, and and another half a day or day of cleaning and breakdown. So that's insane. So walk us through that.
So I quickly realized, like, there's no money in the bank. I'm not working for anyone. I'm trying to make this dream come true, and I'm broke as fuck. So I can't just do barbecue. So how can we make this work? What's something else that we love that's still kind of related to barbecue, that's along the same lines, but something that'll let us be true to ourselves, but will let us have a little bit easier access to cash. And so we came up with the idea of doing burgers. Okay. I'm a huge burger fan. I eat 3 burgers a week. Love burgers. That's never changed, never will change. And so I was like, yo, let me put my spin on burgers and let me see what I can do. And our burgers popped. And at Box Elder, Sundays we would do barbecue, and on Wednesdays we would do burgers. We'd do a burger night. And our burgers got so dope that it became, granted, we had a very limited system. We had one little Blackstone. We could make like 8 burgers at a time. We didn't know what we were doing. Right. Key point. Had no idea how to like mise en place and like get everything ready. Like I wasn't a chef. I wasn't trained. Like there was a lot of things that I was not accounting for.
To the order.
So it was, So bro, it got to the point where there was a 2-hour line to order a burger and then a 2-hour wait for me to make your burger. So you were there for 4 hours for one burger.
Yeah, you got there hungry and you had to eat again when you left because you were hungry again.
Right. So at some point, Miami Food Porn had made a post about us. And so even more people started coming. And there was this dude that caught the Miami Food Porn post, and he started coming pretty regularly. And one day we're there. He had waited the 2 hours to order, and now he was waiting the 2 hours to make his burger. And he just happens to be like standing around. He's a little small talk, whatever. Just, hey, what's up, whatever. And then he asked me, like, yo, why don't you have a restaurant? And I don't know what the fuck came over me, but I'm like, bro, I'm just waiting for you to cut me a check, 150 grand, and we'll make it happen, dude.
We'll make it happen. I've been waiting for you.
Yeah, I'm waiting for you. And he laughed, obviously. He's like, haha, you're funny. Give me my burger, goodbye. And then 10 o'clock that night, we're cleaning up. I'm cleaning the Blackstone, and I get a DM. And it's that guy. And he's like, listen, bro, I thought about it. And if you want to do this, I have a check for you.
No way. And you didn't know this guy at all?
Nah.
Goosebumps are back.
So, yeah, bro. So, JJ, shout out to JJ. He became my business partner.
Okay.
And he's like, look, man.
How many burgers a week does that guy eat?
I mean, he's toned it down a lot because he's trying to be healthy. He's like, oh, bro, I can't. Like, I need to keep my figure, you know? So, but he used to put down quite a few.
I bet. He loved it so much he invested behind it. You know he's getting his burgers in.
So he would come through, bro, and he was like, yo, listen, like, you know, if you're down to make it happen, I believe in the product, and I see how you handle everything here, and I believe in your vision. Like, I'm going to back you up. So now we had the money, right? And then we were like...
First checkbox.
So we're like, all right, now we need a space. I'm a huge believer that when you're meant to do something and you put that energy out into the universe will respond and it will conspire to make it happen.
Right.
And so all of a sudden, the pieces were going to have to come into place.
And if it's not the right time, it won't happen then. But you will continue to work, and luck eventually will line up, right? Luck will eventually line up with preparation. And maybe it's the universe telling you, hey, you're not ready just yet, but go do these reps, go do this. And 3 months from now, you're like, oh shit, the perfect place.
Yeah.
So...
And, you know, I think about that also a lot in how, you know, if I had just said, fuck everything I did in life, I hadn't done marketing, if I hadn't grilled, like whatever, if I had just found that I love grilling and smoking meats and I was just like, yo, let me just try to open a burger joint at the age of 18, there's no way this ever would have happened. Mm-hmm. I just wasn't in the right place. I hadn't gone through the right experiences. I just wouldn't be set to make this work the way it worked. I needed to learn those life lessons, right? Yep. And so when I say the universe will conspire to make it happen, and I want to pair that up with what we talked about a second ago and saying relationships are important. And I killed my ego early on and knew like I knew that I didn't know what I was doing.
That's amazing.
And the only way that I could figure this out was asking people who knew what they were doing.
Sure.
And so I would fucking ask everybody, bro. I was, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? And that ended up opening a ton of doors for me in the industry. A lot of people all of a sudden were like, I like this guy. Like they felt, you know, like this guy was...
They felt inclined to want to help you because you were like ballsy enough to ask for help.
Right. And so along the way, I did a pop-up at a gym called CrossFit Soul. And one of the guys there that tried my food, his name's...
Wait a minute. You're doing burgers and ribs at a CrossFit?
Yeah.
They're throwing on the carbs or what?
I mean, listen, they were
bulking up.
They needed the strength, bro. You know, brisket straight to the guns, dog. Like, yeah, no, essential, bro. Essential.
My bad. So CrossFit Soul, that threw me off. It was like, wait a minute.
So we were at CrossFit Soul, and there was this guy there. His name's Carlos Escanilla, great singer. If you haven't heard him, check him out on Apple Music. And Carlos tried the food and hit up this dude. His name's John Falco, and he owns Fire Pit Hospitality. And he was like, yo, you need to try this barbecue. And Falco's first reaction was like, yeah, no, I don't need to try this barbecue.
Whatever.
But somehow he got inclined and he was like, you know what, I'm going to take a chance. And I was back to popping up in Wynwood at the time. This is a Westchester guy. And he fucking made the drive all the way out there. And he tried the food. And I kind of recognized who he was from Instagram. I hadn't met him yet. So I flooded him with a bunch of stuff, and I was like, "Yo, try this, try this."
The 2-hour wait was like 20 minutes for that guy. I don't know what happened.
Quick, here you go. And I got really lucky that he liked the barbecue. And we've talked about this a lot after. And he was like, "Yo, man." At the time, I sat back and I was like, "Yo, the city needs this." And the beautiful thing about Falco is he's the type of dude who wants to put everybody on game.
That's awesome.
He's not a gatekeeper by any means. He's a resource giver. And he wants to, his biggest thing is to set up the next generation of F&B. And so much so that when after he tried the stuff, the first thing he said was like, he's like, yo, man, this city needs your barbecue. Anything I can do to help you make that happen, I'm all ears. And I 100% took him up on that.
Right.
I think
that's when you look at me and you go, remember this.
But I think like a week later, we were having a breakfast and I'm like asking him every question I can. And I remember at the end of the breakfast, I was like, listen, dude, like, I don't know how much you charge for consulting. I don't have a ton of money, but like, obviously I owe you something. Like,
yeah, your time is worth something.
Your time is worth something. Like, please let me pay you for making this happen. And he's like, I don't want anything except when you're ready and you're in this position and someone comes in the future,
pay it forward.
You have to do the same. I was like, done. And so,
I love that.
And so that has been a driving force in what I do and how I bring people onto my team. I have 4 pitmasters. 2 of them will have barbecue restaurants open within the next 5 years.
Fire.
One is
Apocalypse or
no. They're opening their own
Nice.
things. I have one guy, his name's Pierre. He's doing a concept called Bear Blue Smoke. He's doing pop-ups right now. His shit is insane. I have another guy named Keanu who's working on K-Dot's Barbecue. Keanu is, I fucking love this kid to death. He's one of the ballsiest people I know, bro. For his job interview, he shows up and he sits down and he's like, he comes into the interview and he's like, listen, I don't have any restaurant experience. There's nothing I'm gonna do that's gonna convince you to hire me, that I'm gonna be able to tell you to hire me. So I made you this, and he hands me a box of ribs, and I was like, the fuck? So I opened them and I tried them, and I couldn't tell him that they were really good right in front of his face, because then I was like, I gotta make them.
Sure.
So
you're the rib guy, you know.
So I tried this dude's ribs, and I'm like, fuck, he's hired. Like, no question about it. He's fucking hired. And
what Jeff doesn't know is that the guy showed up 2 hours ago and he ordered those ribs at Apocalypse. And he came in with the to-go box, and I was like, hey, I got something for you.
Nah, he did his thing, bro. He did his thing, and now he's doing his thing. He's got a pop-up every Saturday, and
it's amazing.
And he's grinding, dude. And I make it an open book for them. Those guys have questions all the time. I do everything I can to give them resources, because I want to see them win. I actually, funny enough, in a weird way, I saw the Backstreet Boys documentary that just came out about that guy Lou or whatever.
Seen it yet, but
whatever. The guy Lou, at one point in the documentary, they have video footage of him saying, like, because he fabricated the Backstreet Boys, and he's like, someone somewhere, if I'm Nike, someone is gonna make Adidas. So he's like, yo, let me just make Adidas first. And he wanted to make it for a business thing, but I think about that a lot in the sense of, like, somewhere along the line, someone is gonna open another barbecue joint. Mm-hmm. I don't want any part of their barbecue joint, but I would love it if the people I'm competing with are my boys. You know what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely.
Iron sharpens iron, right? Steel sharpens steel. So we're gonna just push each other to be better. And it's a lot like my relationship that I have with Carl from Hate Mondays right now. I was actually just talking to him about it the other day. I was like, yo, man, like, we did Burger Bash together for Sobe Food and Wine, and he won, right?
Okay.
And I'm like, dude, all right, cool. You kicked my ass.
This year.
For 23, 24, whatever. Yeah, this last one that just happened. And he won. And I was like, dude, you kicked my ass. Congratulations. I'm fucking happy for you. And I really genuinely am happy for you. Next year, I'm coming. I'm coming. Next year, I'm coming.
Get ready.
And I think it should be like that, dude. Like, yo, me and Carl talk all the time. There's mad love for each other. I'm always promoting his business. I'm promoting it right now. If you haven't been to Hate Mondays, shit is fire. You should go check it out. But if we don't push each other, if we don't have that little friendly competition, and you hit a point that you're number one, number two, whatever, and you get comfortable, you get stagnant.
Big time.
And I think...
And that's when you're out for the taking.
Bro, so I believe, and this is something I learned from Falco, I'm going to quote him right now. I believe your business exists in only two states, a state of growth or a state of decay. Mm-hmm. You're always in one of those positions. So you better have people in your circle that are pushing you to continue growing. And if you don't, then you're hanging out with the wrong people.
Yep. Yep. Everybody's heard the don't be the smartest guy in the room phrase, you know, and on that same Falco's line was,
you're either in a state of growth or a state of decay.
If you're not growing, you're dying. That's the other one that I would always hear when I was younger, and I'm like, I don't know what this means. What the fuck are you talking about? And then, 15 years of business, you say, I know exactly what you mean. Why didn't I understand this?
Yeah.
Okay, so these people get involved, and you're like, you got the place already?
No. So,
okay.
The reason Falco came up in this conversation, right? So we had the money. JJ was ready to sign a check, and Falco had this great network, and someone hit him up. And they were like, yo, I have this spot. I'm looking for like a really cool creative place. Would you want to take over, or would you know anybody that would? And he was like, I'm not going to take over. I have my stuff. Like, I'm working on a couple different projects right now, but I know a barbecue concept that needs to kick off. And so he introduced us to Killian Greens. Now we had the money, and now we had the place.
And now we got the second checkbox locked up.
So boom, we were able to do that. And then came the hardest part, which was figuring out how to fucking run this thing. I haven't checked that box up yet. I'm still
we're constantly the line just constantly going, because you don't know where it's going to end. Yeah, it's amazing. Well, I definitely want to chop up some of those challenges, right? Sure. What are some of these day-to-day nightmares, right? And as you're running a business, you're not going to... You won't avoid nightmares. Nightmares are going to happen every time you blink, right? Yeah. It is what it is. So not just what are some of these nightmares, but what do you do to cope with them? What do you do to wake up tomorrow and say, I can't wait to get my dick kicked in again? Like what is this like? What is that drive behind you, right? But so what causes the headaches, and then what do you do to get through the headaches where you look forward to them?
I think what you start to learn to identify what causes the headaches, because they're very cyclical. Okay. So, the first time that one of your employees leaves a walk-in cooler open and you lose $10,000 of meat, you learn we need alarms for the walk-in coolers, right? So
opening procedures, check walk-in cooler the minute you get there.
Yeah. So you start learning some of these things. Do the problems stop? Never, right? There's always new problems, new things. I think what you start to realize is you don't necessarily need to have a solution for every problem. You just need to have a solution strategy.
Yes.
And if you have resources that you can fall back on, then it makes things a lot easier. The first time that, one of our pipes cracked and water started coming out of our
sewers.
Sewer system.
Drains or whatever.
We didn't have a fucking plumber. Oh my God, what do we do? Now we have a plumber.
Get the plunger. Get the plunger. You're looking around like, what do I do with this plunger?
What am I plunging? It's coming out everywhere. So you start, like, now you have a system in place. So the problems will continue to happen.
Emergency contact list. Things of these natures. Now a flood can happen. You're not even there and everyone knows what to do.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Call Emilio.
It's beautiful.
Get him the fuck over here to fix the plumbing.
That's it. And so you start putting these things together, and then you realize that what you have to master is the art of dealing with ambiguity.
Okay.
It's knowing how to work through the unknown, because you don't know what each day is going to hold. Today, as a great example, we woke up and we're expecting our meat order to show up, and it does, but a good chunk of that order was not packed because the food supplier, for whatever reason, didn't create enough of whatever we needed.
And this is what you get, ready? Oh, okay, I'll take it off the invoice. And you're like, what about the fucking 10 grand I'm losing today that I don't have product to sell? And then you're like, what are we talking about?
Yeah. Yep. The fortunate side to how we do things is that we have to work 3 days ahead.
Okay.
So when that happens,
you got some wiggle room.
We have a little bit of wiggle room to be like, okay, we can figure it out.
Right.
Not much. But, we had to learn how to figure it out, right? Like, we went into this at one time with one supplier, and we were adamant about, like, I didn't like the company that I have. I don't really care for them, but the guy, my rep that works with me,
that's important,
he's fucking
man.
Money.
Yeah, as long as he always picks up, like that's hard to find and very important.
No, he does. I'll give JR a huge shout out because he does more than pick up the phone. Like, he puts his ass on the line to make sure our shit works. But we had to eventually come to terms with the fact that JR is one cog in the wheel, and he will bend over backwards. He will break the world to fix a problem. But my man cannot out of thin air make briskets or whatever. You know what I'm saying? There's only so much that he can actually
If he doesn't
do.
have it, he doesn't have it.
He does, exactly.
And unfortunately, post-COVID, I mean, the supply chain issues that we have, especially in food, something like you specifically where it's so product-based, you can't just change the meat from week to week or the brand or the rack size. Like, you have a very standard that you have to live up to. So it's not like send me the next best thing. It's no, I need that fucking thing. How do I find it now?
And I'm an extra fucking stickler for that. Like, I'm so stuck on my ways of using this specific grade of product. Like, my pork has to be Cheshire. There's other great pork brands out there, right? But I have to rock
and to
with
the
Cheshire.
human eye, they might not notice, but you know.
But I know.
And that's enough.
And that's all it takes.
That's more than enough.
And so when I don't have that specific thing, it's really tough because it's like, how do you get to that level of quality? So we had to invest time in developing relationships and finding things. And I try to make all my primary orders from JR because I think that he's earned our business in a significant way. But from time to time, if something doesn't exist, it doesn't exist, and we have to find a way to make it work. But I've also told him a million times, like, yo, man, I rock with JR, not with your company.
Right.
And the day you leave,
I'm leaving with you.
fucking gone. I'm gone. So
outside of JR's relationship, are you price shopping some of these distributors?
we have conversations, but the challenge with price shopping is that you're also quality shopping. And a lot of times people will come up to you and be like, yeah, I can get you a prime brisket,
I can beat the price.
And the thing is, if you were to hold, so I use Demcoda briskets, right? And if you put a Demcoda brisket up to an IBP or an Excel, I hate Excel. If you put them up to one of those two brands, yeah, they're all prime, which is only 10% of U.S. meat gets graded as prime. So it's a high standard, but it's not the same standard.
Right.
The animals are treated differently. The animals are fed differently. They're cared for differently. And at the end of the day, the quality of what gets produced is differently. And there's only 2 briskets on each cow, right? So there's only so much of this that can go. It has to hit a certain point. And mind you, brisket is the worst cut of meat that you want. Like, no one's buying... Prior to the barbecue boom, no one was buying brisket for anything. Grinded up to make burgers. That's really all it was good for. It's very fatty and it's very tough. It's the most used muscle. It's the chest muscle. It's the pectoral muscle. So it's the cow's always using it, right? So it wasn't something that it's not a prime cut. And so now it's had this beautiful renaissance, and everybody's into brisket now, and that's a great thing. But now there's more demand for it, so it's harder to get. And less supply, so it's harder to get. So we're sticklers with what's coming through the door. And
That's awesome. So give me another challenge that you face on a day-to-day. You mentioned things like the walk-in cooler. I just pictured it in my head because I know what that looks like and feels like. You walk in, you're like, fuck, I didn't even have time to move this to another fridge. Like, it's already bad.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a big one. Chain supply issues. Love the fact that we went down that road. People that might not have a restaurant but is interested in a restaurant, they might be like, wait, you guys don't get your food at Publix, right? Like, so these type of conversations and back end of it.
I didn't know that in the beginning.
Right.
I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go to Publix and buy my ribs. Like,
I'm sure your first couple of ribs were from Publix, 100%. You know what I mean? And
I used to go to Milam's a lot.
There you go.
I didn't like the ribs at Publix. And so I was like, fuck it. I found Milam's had really good quality stuff, and that's where I used to get my stuff. In the beginning, the Milam's in the Grove was my spot. The guys started to know me. They're like, yo, you come in here and buy like 20 racks of ribs every weekend. I'm like,
yeah, you should come by and pick some up on Sunday when I'm done cooking them. Fucking asshole. You make me wait every week.
Yeah. So
what other challenges like that have you or here's the better question. What would you think is the biggest experience or lesson that you've learned so far?
I think the biggest experience and lesson that I've learned, or the biggest
through Apocalypse,
has been I've worked positions before where I've led teams. I've been in managerial positions, but it's always been a little bit different because at the end of the day, it wasn't my business, right? So there was like so much you were going to drive and that you could get people to drive, but I think we were all kind of on the same page as far as like, yeah, we're here to do a job.
Right.
But now it's not just a job, right? Now it's my business, and it's something that I have a lot of pride in. And my standards are much higher than what they were when I was just checking the box off for somebody else. And I learned that mentality wasn't necessarily the right mentality for being in that position. I was like, damn, dude, if I would have approached some of my managerial roles as an owner rather than just an employee, I wonder how much more successful I would have been.
Yeah.
And so helping guide people to that understanding, taking the horse to water and making them want to drink can sometimes be a challenge. I have incredible people, wonderful, amazing team. I actually, as I was on my way here today, I just made a post. Like, we opened up this morning and it was the smoothest opening I think we've ever had.
Nice.
And I had
good.
Bro, it was pure fucking euphoria to like look back and see all the cogs working together. Yep. You know, it's like, imagine you're working on a car and there's always like, oh, fuck, this thing just happened. And now
and all of a sudden this morning, the car started.
And it started perfect, bro. And to sit back and look at that, it was like, oh my fucking God, we did it,
We
bro.
did it.
And it was amazing to see all these people working together. But things are going to change.
Yep.
That's not going to be a constant. There's going to be challenges because every human being is a real person with real challenges, real difficulties, real things that they're going through.
At work and out of work, and they come to work with it because they're humans.
Yes. And so getting them to kind of create that divider and motivating them to be at their best, right? Because someone walking into work that just had a beef with their significant other is not going to be performing at their best. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying they're going to be trash, but they're going to be distracted. I'm distracted.
The focus isn't 100% there.
I've had this conversation with my wife a million times. Like, yo, I simply cannot afford to have a fight with you. Like, me and you cannot fight because I'm running a business and I'm here making decisions and people are explaining, yo, this is whatever, sitting here talking to my accountant. And the entire time I'm thinking, damn, bro, I said this to my wife. Like, now I got to go, how am I going to apologize?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Maybe the
like,
pink towels in the bathroom are fine, right?
Yeah.
Like, fuck, I made a big deal about that.
Right.
And meanwhile, your accountant's telling you about XYZ, profit and loss, and da-da-da-da-da, and you're like, yeah, sounds good. Babe, the pink is fine.
Yo, that has happened to me. And I've gone home and I've talked to her. I'm like,
me too. I don't joke because I know because I know.
Yeah, bro. And relationships are key. Everything we do in life is rooted in relationships. That's why we do the things that we do, right? To take care of the people around us, to be a part of the people around us, to find love. All of that drives us, huge motivator. And so when we have frictions in those relationships, that shit's gonna impact everything we do around us. I gotta be understanding of that. I can't just be like, oh, you're having a bad day, get the fuck out of here.
Check it in at the door and shut the fuck up.
That's not real, right? But like, how do we get you to check it at the door?
Right.
And power through it, right?
How do we? So I think what you're saying is like, how do we not fix the problem? And this actually goes hand in hand with what you were saying as far as what's causing the problem, right? I think in school terms, it's like the root cause, right? Like you need to find the root so that the weeds stop growing. If you just trim the weed, you're gonna have weeds again next week, right? So the idea is if your solution to not leaving the walk-in cooler was to just keep the damn door closed, probably going to happen again within, X amount of time. You didn't rip out the root. But now putting alarms, putting specific locks, putting it on operating checklists, opening, closing procedures, manager's main focus list, priority tasks, all this shit is all over. Chances are you're probably not going to have this walk-in cooler happen anymore, right? So I think you were hitting on something that's extremely important on both sides of the spectrum. As an employee that's working at a business, and then also as a business owner that is essentially running the business. Right. And that common ground that I think you touched on that is spot on, right, is treating the business like it's yours, but it's also very important to not act like the owner, right? So act like the owner in the sense of showing up to work, wanting to win, not by 10, wanting to win by 100, right? Like you're not trying to have a good day. You're trying to have the best day. Like all these factors, right? Like go in there with that mindset. If there's a problem, take the owner approach. Like how can I solve this problem, right? If I was the owner of this place, this would be my problem. What can I do? But then also not taking that overstep and solving the problem a certain way without running it by the owner. And that's what I mean by like act like the owner. I guess the wording is take initiative as the owner, but don't act like you're the owner, right?
So I would challenge you a little on that.
Okay.
Because I talk to my front of house team and I tell them that I trust them, right? I believe in them. They're representative of my brand and I empower them to make decisions. And if they run into a situation, I don't want them running around looking for a manager.
Oh, 100%.
I want them finding a solution. And I would rather them find the wrong solution and then we have a conversation about it and they have a learning opportunity.
What's that phrase? Ask for forgiveness, not permission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would rather do that than have them delay whatever the process is even further, and then you're just continuing to frustrate whoever the guest is.
No pushback needed. I agree with you in that sense. 3,000,000%. The situation that I had in mind, for example, was water's coming out of the drain. Don't call your uncle the plumber. I might not want to pay him. You get me? Tell me, hey, I got 3 friends. They're plumbers. Should I call them? Oh, damn, thanks for telling me there's a flood. No. I can go over there with Tom. He knows how to fix it. Right? Facts. So don't like overstep in that sense as far as making the decision. Okay. But come with those ideas on how to solve the problem. 100%. Because now you thought for me, oh shit, you just empowered yourself. But the point I wanted to get to was that's how you grow in a company. Yeah. Right? It doesn't matter how good you do the job if you can't do the job for yourself. Right? Like if you have to be managed, then it doesn't matter how good you are, right? Like you think Michael Jordan needed a coach?
No.
If anything, they needed the coach to get the other guys on his level, right? It was nothing to do with Michael Jordan, right? So I think that's kind of something that doesn't get spoken about a lot. And employees are too, what's the word I'm looking for? Complacent on the fact that like, I have a job, let me wait to be told what to do. Yeah. And then you notice like those same people are the ones complaining that like they're not growing. Well, what are you doing to grow, right? Yeah. You're doing the same thing you did yesterday in the same way, and you're not doing it much better, right? So what are we doing, right? So you're now just a placement. Placements don't grow or move. That placeholder by your door that's been there probably since you were a kid, it's the same one. It's by the door. Because what's a door holder going to do in I don't know, under a desk? Right. Nothing. No door to hold there, right? So you become the door holder. Yeah. No door, no place for you. Yeah. So I think, advice-wise, what would you give advice to somebody that has a job right now that they're very passionate about? They, almost an entrepreneur where they're not the owner, but they're, in a position where they really know the business in and out and they don't want to be an entrepreneur, right? They don't want to be an owner. What would be some advice to that? Like your key, pit master. Is that the term? Pit master? Yeah. He loves, barbecue. He loves ribs. He got a good job that could give him a foundation that he needs to go do this on his own. What made you notice that? So that's the wording. I asked you 19 questions to ask you that one fucking question.
Yeah. No, all good. And I actually have a great example in one of the people on my team who does that. Yo, man, we talk a lot about giving a fuck. And I tell everybody, at the core of everything we do, you have to give a fuck. And you see that in the way that you make decisions, in the way you react to situations, in how you handle things. When I kind of got first news that I was opening the restaurant, we had just signed the lease. We knew that this was going to happen. I knew I needed to staff up. And I also knew that I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. So
you had never needed the staff because it's always been a small operation.
Right. And so I used to pop up at this place, Unseen Creatures.
Okay.
And there was a dude there who, his name's Angel, and he was the taproom manager. And I remember I'd always see him doing way more than he needed to be fucking doing. He was always going above and beyond.
Angel's extra.
Angel was extra as fuck when it came to running his job.
Good.
But it reflected in the health of the business, right? There was a noticeable difference in between like time that Angel was there and time that Angel wasn't there. And like time prior to Angel taking over to Angel running the show. And I had a conversation with him and I was like, dude, like what's your aspiration in life? Like, what are you trying to do? And he's like, I have these ideas, whatever, super down the road. And I'm like, you're not going to work here forever. I'm like, you're going to own a business. He's like, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, no. You're going to be a business owner. You care too much and you put too much of yourself to move forward into something as not being an owner. And I knew if I could convince this guy to join my team that I wouldn't have him forever, but I would have him for enough time to get started.
Yeah.
And funny enough, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. I might be putting him on blast, but whatever. We've been having some interesting conversations lately.
Sure.
Nothing is like on an expedited path, but that entrepreneurship, that seed that's inside of him,
that flame kind of sparked,
is a little sparky now.
Yeah.
So, and I'm really excited, and I'm praying that he follows down that road and does something amazing. I don't want to share his business. I've already started promoting him, but
the marketing agency's back. Jeff got his second client, Apocalypse, and now Angel's business.
Yeah, but identifying that in him, right? Like it wasn't his business, but he treated it like it was. That was because he gave a fuck, because he knew that at the end of the day, he had to come here and this business had to succeed in order for him to survive. That's the symbiotic relationship that they have.
Did he come right over when you had this conversation, or was there a little bit of a period of like?
He thought about it. He definitely was like, there was a big risk. Like I told him straight up, I was like, yo, my dude, you could join this team and you could come with me tomorrow. And in 6 months, I could be bankrupt.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yo,
I might be back in the crib with Milems.
Yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen. This is 90% of restaurants fail within their first 5 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know where this is going. And we had no idea how to run a restaurant. I was clear on all of these things, and I was like, and on top of that, I don't really have a ton of money to pay you.
Right.
So,
right. It's a dream job.
Yeah.
We don't know what we're doing. We don't know how long we'll be here, and I don't know how much I can really pay you. But you're all in.
Yeah. So, what do you want to do? And he thought about it, and then ultimately he was like, yo, man, I don't think I'll get many opportunities like this in life, and I want to make this happen. That's sick. So he took a fucking huge leap of faith.
Well, I'll tell you, nobody takes a leap of faith if there's nothing to believe in. So having a leader like you is why he took the leap of faith, right? That he didn't need to see your business successful to know that you are capable of succeeding. And that's another clear example of be prepared, so you don't have to get prepared. You didn't know that location was coming, and you didn't know you had the staff, but you knew Angel from before that, and you had already recognized that guy's a monster.
Yeah.
So it's not like, oh shit, now this is happening. First page, like, I got to start thinking of people and go meet people that are good. No, you had been doing that. You've been shaking hands, kissing babies, right? Like there was that already Rolodex in your head to at least start with, right? Have another challenge question, and then I want to read that creative sense and get some of these creative juices coming from you. Outdoorness. I'm guessing you have a lot of that.
Outdoorness?
Yeah, like how outdoor is? You're not barbecuing inside of a.
No, everything's on outdoors.
What's the challenge in Miami with the weather?
Have you seen the weather report for today? Brother, we just.
How does it look? What do you do? What does that look like? Someone out there has a business that's outdoors, and they're like, bro, I'm gonna close because this fucking sucks. How do you not close, right? Because if you're in Miami and you could put up with it, you're pretty good anywhere else except Seattle, maybe, right? Like, so what does that look like to Apocalypse Barbecue? And when it gets cloudy outside, what's the mood? Is it extra work, or is it let's get ahead, or like, what does that look like?
Bobby, we cooking in the rain.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
You need the little old school umbrella. Remember that you would
raincoat. You got a poncho on it. You making it happen.
The hat things that you'd pop, and it was a little umbrella on top of your head. You remember what I'm talking about? Disneyland.
I'm actually gonna get my guys that.
Yo, that's the best, dude.
Brother, yeah, no, we have to figure it out. You know, there's definitely some changes that we need to make. It's really, you know, unfortunately, there's certain guidelines that we have to follow, certain rules and regulations,
Especially with food.
yeah, and structures. Because what I wanted to do was create some sort of covering so that my guys could be chilling.
Permitted.
So one of the things that I've learned is that if we were to make a second apocalypse, if that ever comes to be, we would definitely try to find a place that would allow us to have all the smoking inside. There's some really special hoods that you can get for like hard fuels and stuff like that. Incredibly expensive, but 100% worth it for the comfort of your team.
Sure.
I see what my guys go through.
And execution. I can't imagine that when it rains, you're walking at top speed. I mean, working at top speed. There's things that slow you down.
Right. And it's also the variables, right? Because everything impacts the way barbecue is made. The hotter it is outside, the more less wood that you have to put, because the hotter your box is gonna run. When it rains, bro, as soon as it starts raining, literally those first few drops, your shit will drop 50, 60 degrees quick. That's a great way to fuck up your brisket. And we're cooking all our briskets at one time. You know what I'm saying? So that's a gamble. And it's just knowing kind of when to press the gas, when to pump the brakes, and how to work through those circumstances. It's tough. It's challenging. Weather is a bitch. Knock on wood, you know, we haven't had anything super crazy yet.
How do you face that challenge with your team, right? Because it has to be demoralizing. And then when it stops raining, I'm sure there's drying that has to happen and X, Y, and Z. Is there any point where your team is like, yo, Jeff, man, fuck, bro, let's close today or something, man? Like, what are we doing?
No, I don't think our culture would even allow for that kind of conversation.
Nice.
That's just not, that kind of weak ass mentality is not something we would entertain.
Nice.
We don't succumb to fucking quitting. We overcome, right? So whatever challenges we are faced with, we look at as opportunities. I think there's a lot of importance in understanding synergy of your team. And I think that if somebody were to come with that attitude, I think we would quickly identify that they're not the right person for our role.
Right.
And I don't say that in a malicious way, right? I think that you see the difference between like I don't want to fuck up, the 92 Bulls, right? Undefeated, right? They won the championship. You see the difference when you have the pieces together versus when you don't, right? For teams to be able to achieve those levels of success, every piece has to be in place. Sometimes the right piece isn't in place, and that's a quick way to identify it. We have to have that attitude of we're going to get hit, we're going to get popped, because we live in that state, dude. We open our doors sometimes. I'll give you a great example, right? On Father's Day, prior to Father's Day of this year, the busiest we've ever opened our doors was maybe 40, 50 people standing outside waiting to come in, which is a lot. That's our entire restaurant filled up at one shot, right?
Yeah.
On Father's Day, there was like almost 200
You got to get
people.
them in and get them out, and it's all, you're getting hit at the same time. So it's very hard to do that.
Right. On Father's Day, we had almost 200 people waiting to fucking come into the restaurant. So it was like, yo, what do we do? Like, how do we handle this shit? This is not the time to be like,
Right. Go hide in the office, tell your team to figure it out. Yeah.
Nah, we can't do that. And that goes back to dealing with ambiguity. And I think another really important skill set that comes into that is being able to turn on a dime. You have to be able to look at whatever's being presented to you and say, yo, we're going to adapt and overcome. We're going to figure it out. We're probably going to fuck up in the process, but we will fix the fuck up later. The important thing is that we get to the finish line one way or another. And they have that same approach. You know, we try to give them raincoats and we try to give them whatever resources we can to overcome that weather. Ideally, hopefully sooner than later, we will have some sort of covering to help make that a little bit more comfortable. But unfortunately, that's kind of one of the challenges. It's the nature of what we do. Yeah. You know,
and even more so where we live,
and even
where
more
we
so
do it.
Right.
Absolutely. So speaking of culture, it's one of the biggest things in my life. Right. I associate culture with like values.
Yeah.
Right. Integrity, discipline.
Yeah.
These are all words that I kind of repeat to myself on a daily basis because they are my values and my DNA. Right. I don't understand how you can like walk by something that's like completely out of place, even more so like your place, and like you leave it there, right? Like it just would drive me nuts. But that would have to do with culture, right? Like if there are the restaurants that I'm involved in, I walk in and I see a napkin, I'm not finding the busser to say, why the fuck is the napkin there? I'm picking up the napkin and I'm throwing it away. And guess who saw that? The busser.
Yeah.
And next time I don't have to ask him to pick it up because he got it. Yo, if the owner's walking in and putting his hands on that ketchup, I better fucking pick up the ketchup next time, right?
Facts.
And it's not that because I have to, it's because I want to. because I want to pick it up before he has to. Right. And so what is that, what are some culture points of Apocalypse Barbecue besides leave that bitch ass shit at home? What other, what else comes to mind? And it doesn't have to be like a specific code or anything, but like, what are some of those things that you repeat on a daily to get to that success that you have as a business?
The biggest one that comes to mind is what we talked about a minute, is actually giving a fuck.
Okay.
That's a huge
You have
factor.
to care.
You have to care. And you have to care because the goal is the quality of the experience that we try to deliver. I think Apocalypse is founded on two pillars. Both are quality. Experience and the service, right? Everything that what you have. Sorry, you have experience at the top, and it's held up by two pillars. One is the quality of the service. Okay. The other is the quality of the food. It's the product that we put out. You have to have a sense of pride in everything you do. And the reason you have to give a fuck, what funds that, right? What holds that all together is giving a fuck, is because we strive to be transformational, not transactional.
Okay.
We want
cool.
everyone that comes in here to really walk away with something. This is probably going to sound fucking ludicrous to a lot of people. One of my favorite things when I worked at Apple was when we talked about selling a computer. It wasn't just like, yo, we're gonna sell this computer so some kid can do his homework. It wasn't about that. It was, we're gonna sell this computer so that we can pave the way for the next great American author, for the next super composer, the next Steven Spielberg. We're opening the doors to something huge. We're giving you a key to your dreams.
Yep. That tool that you need to take it to the next step.
And I think Apocalypse and the dining experience isn't about, yo, we're putting food in front of you. Food is the product, right? That's the feature that we have. The benefit of this product is we're giving you an opportunity to come together. Everybody has hardships. We're giving you an opportunity to forget the challenges you face today. Everybody has their first date butterflies. We're giving you a place to kind of make special for yourself, right? Where we're giving you a place to come together, to laugh, to create fucking memories, dude.
Yes.
And food, especially in our culture as Latinos, food is that glue that holds us together.
Yes.
I always say that I want Apocalypse to be, I would love to never have to leave the place I'm in now. I would love for Apocalypse to be in like Killian Green's golf course for the next 200 years. So that in the course of 200 years, the couple that went on their first date in fucking 2023 comes back on 2027 with their first kid.
Yes.
And then that kid comes back 10 years later on their first date, 15 years later on their first date. And then they come back when they have their first kid, and that pattern continuously repeats itself. But we
and you know what doesn't change? The quality of service and product.
Facts.
Unless it's getting better.
Unless it's getting 1% better every day.
1% better.
And so we really value that. We value being a part of our community. And it's important that our community has a place to come and gather. Does it suck that it takes 3 hours to get in the door sometimes? Yeah, I wish that we could open the doors and serve everybody at the same time. I really do. But I have 49 seats. There's only so much that we can do. So in the time that it takes for you to get to those 2 hours have to be worth it for you. It have to be worth it in the food that you have, and they have to be worth it in the experience that you have.
You have to leave there saying those 2 hours were worth it, not, coño, it took 2 hours.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And so that's what we strive for. And so we spend a lot of time talking about giving a fuck and having a foundation in quality of service, of having a foundation of experience, and of the food, of the product.
Amazing. So I don't know what part of the website, but I read this and it completely sent chills through my body, right?
Okay.
This was, and even more so me knowing like you wrote this. Right? Like this isn't like a PR girl in Alaska that doesn't know anything about ribs, right? Like
she's in Puerto Rico.
Right. So someone either close to you or like this was written by somebody that understands the business. It wasn't like a PR stunt, right?
Okay.
So I read, "Welcome to a barbecue revolution where every bite is a testament to our passion and every moment spent with us is a taste of something truly extraordinary. This is Apocalypse Barbecue, and we invite you to savor it all." I can't read that and not see, I mean, obviously it says the word passion, but if the word wasn't there, I can read the passion in this statement, right? And if it goes with the two culture points that you mentioned, really three, give a fuck, good qualities, product, good quality service. This says that in a sentence, right? So it's like, I can see you telling your team every day internally, this is our culture. But this tells to me, your guest, hey, this is our culture, right? Yeah. Do you feel this clear vision that you have created, and I'm sure it wasn't maybe that clear day one, right? This was a over the time thing. What's your feedback from the community? Like, I guess the question is do people notice it? But I already know the answer is yes, right? So I guess like, how do you elevate that question and ask like, the people saying yes, what do they say about that, right? What do they do they, you know, is it a typical like, thank you guys for providing this that I can't find anywhere else? Is it you know, not much encounter between you and the guest? Is it regular guests that come that you're like, at this point, you know their kids' names, and it's like a, you know, come to Cheers where everybody knows your name, right? Like what does this culture breed? What is the feedback, right? Because culture internally keeps the business running, but culture externally keeps the business coming.
Yep.
Right. So how do you keep the business coming, or how is by having a culture like this, right? But what do you see inside out that culture providing and breeding? And like, if this was a living organism, describe it to me, right? Like, what is this?
Yeah, man. I see it as a generational thing. I see it as a place that somebody's gonna come, they're gonna bring their first date, they're gonna get married, they're gonna come celebrate at our spot, they're gonna have their kid, they're gonna bring their kid, they're gonna keep that cycle's gonna keep going. I think it's about, we get a lot, to answer your question of, thank you so much for doing this. Nice. There's a lot of, you know, ex-Texans and stuff, they're out here and they're like, I finally have something from back home. Like, thank God we got some good barbecue, and they're very excited to be able to have that. And then you have people who are having their first real barbecue experience, right? They've never had food that was cooked on an offset smoker. Their idea of barbecue was, you know, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but you know, some old school joints that weren't hitting the mark.
Right.
And so they get to have that very cool moment where they get to try like food done the way that it should be done, following the traditions that make barbecue.
Right.
And so it's very cool to be able to see that thing that becomes a part of a person's life. And then there's the deeper moments. There's the really crazy moments where apocalypse becomes an exclamation mark in a person's life. And one of the craziest examples of that I have is a dude who came in and loved apocalypse. He was sitting at the bar and he was eating his food. I walked by to chop it up with him. We were having this really cool conversation, and he mentioned like, damn, I wish you guys had some dino ribs. And I told him, dude, like, we actually bring those back every once in a while. We run a special. We're going to have them on Thursday. You should come by. And he looked at me and was like, I'm not going to be able to make it. And I'm like, what do you mean, dude? It's Thursday. You can come, like, or next Thursday, whatever. And he's like, no, you don't get it. I'm stage 4 cancer. I'm terminal. This is probably going to be one of my last meals. And I was like, fuck.
No shit.
You chose to make that end mark on your life coming to fucking apocalypse.
Yes.
And that was wild. It was wild to me. And it's not just that one, dude. It's we had a couple that came the other day, and they ordered a bunch of food. And in the passing conversation, they kind of let it slide that the food was for their dog.
No shit.
And so one of my guys came and told me like, oh, you're not gonna believe this. Like, these guys are ordering all this stuff and it's all for their dog. Like, so cute. And immediately, I have 3 dogs, right? I love my dogs. Immediately, I freaked out. I was like, you can't give brisket to your dog.
Yeah,
He's
sick
as fuck. Like, no, you can't do that. And so I went over there to like be like, hey man, listen, like, really cool gesture you're doing, but please don't do that because your dog's gonna get sick. And he's like, it doesn't matter, dude. We're putting him down after this. We want this to be like the last experience that we have together.
Dude.
Fuck, man. Like,
yeah, it's something about dogs. You're going to make me tear up.
Yeah.
We talked about you dying 3 times. No one cared. You came and said the dog had a last meal. We're both teary-eyed. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, dude. So it's crazy, dude. And then, you know, another one that comes to mind is like, you know, we're up the street from Baptist. Mm-hmm. And I had a guy who would come all the time and pick up food, and he would take it to the hospital. I didn't know that's what he was doing. He was just picking up food. And
is this someone that works at the hospital or
no
was there?
He was there.
Got it.
And when he came back to eat one day, he brings his wife and kid, and he's like, it was the first time he brought his kid out, and he was like, yo, man, you didn't know this at the time. You guys were prepping food for us, but we had a child at Baptist, and it was not an easy delivery, and our kid was in the NICU for a long time. And to kind of, as we were getting through it, like we were eating, like we would look forward to eating Apocalypse, like in that moment of darkness.
Absolutely.
This was the silver lining on the cloud. And it's just crazy that like you get to hear I'm so grateful that you have barbecue in Miami, and that's awesome to hear that. But it's even crazier to hear like how we've actually become an intimate part, an integral part of somebody's life.
Yes.
And that's crazy, to be able to really deliver something like that, to be able to deliver that level of experience, man, like that's what we do this for.
For those that don't know anything that you're talking about right now, right? They're not in business, they don't have money, they don't have anything. Is that the greatest return?
Fuck yeah.
From doing this?
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, right.
I mean, dude, money's fucking cool, right? I'm not gonna front and pretend like I don't care about money.
Sure.
I think everybody in some way is motivated by money. The motivation of what you do with that money may change from person to person.
Sure.
Right? But if you do anything because of money or just for money, it's never gonna fucking work. Right? But if you do something for love and for passion, and that love is returned and that passion is returned, the return on that is love, that's going to make it so much more valuable.
Absolutely.
I could go broke tomorrow. Sure, whatever. Like, it could happen. I'll never lose the memories and the experiences of being able to impact somebody's life.
Absolutely, dude. I mean, in our business, unfortunately, if it's not like a very special moment, right, like a wedding or something, I don't get a lot of that, right? So the return on the immediate experience isn't so like we're a part of it. But what I do get, that fulfillment or that sense of, I call it warm and fuzzy, right? That warm and fuzzy feel that you get from these type of things is when like a client reaches out, and says like, yo, before we were using you guys to do all the programming, our whole office was in shambles. Every day was these headaches. Like me and my wife are getting back together because I'm not stressed anymore.
That's great.
Like, thank you. Not only thank you for doing this, but thank you for doing it to a standard that like I can actually count on.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to find. In food and beverage, it's difficult. In hospitality, it's challenging. In nightlife, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So like when we're able to pump this standard or value out and then it's noticed and reciprocated, that's my warm and fuzzy. But you're actually able to get it from the person biting the food, not the person selling the food, right?
Yeah.
Which in our case, that's the client. But I've dabbled a little bit into that where there's like it's a wedding and like, the bride hits us up the next day from her honeymoon, like no need to send. Guys, I'm in Mexico right now and I just wanted to take 5 minutes to write you a fucking, not a thank you, a fucking thank you, like thank you for the attention to detail, this, that. And look, the goosebumps are black, man, because I feel like that's really what it's about.
Yeah,
and
man.
this is based on wanting to provide an experience. And naturally, that's what's gotten you to where you're at within this project. Now, I'll take this opportunity to transition to some points that might not be the fan favorites. Okay. And these are some of your rules on your website.
Okay. All right.
Hit me. I want to explore these rules. Okay. First one that I noticed that just isn't a thing. No phone?
Yeah, no, fuck that. Never.
So talk to me. You didn't open and say, hey, it would be a really cool concept if we're the only business in food that doesn't have a phone. That wasn't the conversation, right? So it was probably more out of a necessity at first. And then it got probably into we function pretty well without it, so why are we going to change it? But how did that story come about? And was it that you had a phone and it didn't stop ringing? Or like, how did that come about?
I never wanted a phone for my business because I knew the worst. A second reason ended up coming into existence, but initially it was my belief, it's still my belief, that no good business interaction between a business and a guest happens over the phone.
It's normally a complaint.
It's not even just that. It's tone gets lost, right?
Sure.
You have a person, who's going to answer the phone in a restaurant, right? It's going to be like a bartender, a host, whatever. That person is being distracted by 1,000 different things.
Probably has 100 things to do.
Immediately, they're not giving you their full attention, right? So you on the phone are already like, damn, dude, like I'm just trying to book this. Mistakes happen over the phone. Things are misunderstood. You know, tone can really impact the way something works.
There's no body language because you're not seeing the person.
Right. So I just felt like there was a lot of really shitty interactions that were going to come. And then I felt like, yo, we have Instagram, right? So like, what do we need a phone for? Just shoot us a DM and that's it. Like it's 2024.
How many people have complained about this?
1 million. We're never going to get a phone. That'll never happen.
And when you explain it to people, are they like, oh, I get that? Or are they like, yo, cool, bro, but like fucking pick up?
I think there's some valid, I think some people are like, I can't answer every DM within 5 seconds.
Right.
So I think there's some valid reasons for why we should have a phone. But the second point that came into existence after was like, yo, man, I never opened Apocalypse thinking that there would be 70 people in line every day.
Right, right. You know you're hoping to have someone in line, and now the problem is the line's too long.
Right, right. I was like, yo, man, if we could get, 100 people in here in a day, that would be amazing. And so that's not how it worked out. And so we quickly learned that the space was just nowhere near big enough for us. Our kitchen is nowhere near big enough for us. And so if we were to have a phone and we were what would we be able to do? Like pick up the phone and say, hey, we can't take your order? Well, that's just annoying.
Right.
So let's just cut that process out in the beginning.
You're delivering bad news versus no news.
Right. So we don't have the physical capacity to have any more orders coming in the door while maintaining quality. We could if we were to cut corners, right?
Sure.
Like I could give you a sloppy ass cheeseburger, but then I'm not doing either one of us justice.
Right.
I'd rather you come and have the real experience, which is the reason why in the beginning I fought opening takeout for so long. Once we started popping, we actually opened the restaurant with takeout. And then we started popping and we started realizing like, yo, we couldn't control the takeout situation and the orders. Like it was just too much. And I was
that was my second rule I was bringing up. So we'll jump to that. No takeout.
Yeah, fuck that. So that's what we said initially.
What does that mean? I can't order to go?
You can. So we've changed that rule. I just haven't changed it on the website because I'm trying to keep it a secret. Worst kept secret in the fucking world.
Hey, the whole world knows now.
Yeah. So you can come to the restaurant and place a takeout order. We've kind of figured out the operational process to be able to work that into our flow. The problem was that before we had a couple of different issues. One is people would come and there would be a 3-hour line and they'd just be like, fuck it, I'm getting takeout. And the people that were on the 3-hour line were now not getting food because everything was being sold through takeout. And that sucks. Like you just waited
3 hours now is almost 4 hours.
No. The 3 hours is now cultivating in nothing. Because by the time you sat down, we were sold out of food because everybody skipped the line getting takeout. So the first thing was protecting that guest experience. That was number one. And so the number two thing was I wasn't super happy about quality packaging. And we just had to figure out a different way of getting that product to somebody's house so that they wouldn't open it up. Like, for example, the biggest issue was our burgers. We used to steam our burger buns. And I love a steamed burger bun. It has a really cool, chewy, donut-y kind of texture. And so we used to steam our burger buns. And then a lot of people, when they would take them to go while we still did that, immediately would hit us up and be like, this burger is greasy, it's disgusting, da-da-da. So we learned like, yo, if we're gonna do to-goes, like now we have to toast our buns, we can't steam them. We have to come up with a different way of being able to deliver this product. So it took making some changes to be able to accommodate that. Ultimately, I think we got to a place where we were able to deliver it with a limit, right? We couldn't just open the floodgates to everybody. So we couldn't put a phone, we can't do online orders yet. We're hoping to figure that out. But we have it available. You just have to pop into the restaurant and place the order. It kind of limits the amount of people because a lot of people are just like, fuck it, I'm not going to order, right? Like Uber, people try to hit us up to like be on Uber Eats and they're like, yo, why can't you set it up? It's like, yo, man, it makes it too accessible. And what we do is such a laborsome product that we can't just make it for everybody as much as we would like to.
Right.
I have to respect the fact that some people are waiting 2-3 hours to sit down at this table, dude. And I can't just put a brisket on the grill and be like, yo, it'll be ready in 20 minutes. It's a 24-hour cook.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like
it'll be on your doorstep 42 minutes from now.
Yeah.
Like, no.
So I gotta think about the people that are coming in. Does it suck? Yeah. Like as a business owner, right? My fiduciary responsibility to the business is to make money. That's my job as an owner.
Correct.
Right? So I am responsible to the people who invested in this business to make sure that their investments are recouped.
Right.
And third is I'm responsible for making sure that my team has a paycheck every other Friday.
Correct.
Right? So like
has a place to work in the next Friday.
Right. So I have to find the ways to make proper revenue for the business. But if it's just about making money and we dilute the quality of our product, ultimately we're gonna suffer a lot more.
Absolutely.
It's better, I guess, to lose $100 by not having takeout versus losing all of it because we have takeout and nobody comes
losing
back.
100 guests that don't come back from it, and then guess what? You got to cut staff.
Right.
Now he doesn't have his paycheck anymore. Now this operation went from this to this. Now we're closing at 1:30, now 4 or 5. Then it's a lot about cutting back versus growing.
Right.
And your culture has been all about growing. To transition off from the rules, what's another, what's a last rule that people complain about? I noticed a bunch, right? Those were two I wrote down, but and it doesn't have to be on the website. But what are some challenges where guests come and complain to you about a common thing over and over besides, I tried to find your number everywhere and I can't figure out how to call you guys. And then you smile and you're like, you can't. Or, hey, let me get 20 briskets to go. And you're like, you can't. What else kind of falls in that category?
I think the biggest one for us is our inability to have barbecue last an entire day.
Okay.
And I think that that's a challenge because Miami lacks the cultural awareness that comes with what understanding of what barbecue is. It's a very laborsome process, right? It's 24 hours for us to smoke our briskets. It's like almost 8 hours to smoke our ribs. And some people that are into barbecue might be hearing that and saying like, it's not 24 hours to smoke a brisket. The thing is, we have a greater amount of briskets to smoke,
right,
which reduces the cooking process. Slows the cooking process down. I could cook a brisket at my house in 12 to 14 hours. But even still, that's not 5 minutes. Like that's not, I can make a steak, I can make a New York strip in 10, 15 minutes, right? It's not the same thing. So we have this kind of situation where we can only make a certain amount of food. And we also have to protect the quality of that food. I can't just stuff as many briskets as possible into the smoker because it's going to fuck up the airflow. And then it's going to fuck up the way the smoke penetrates those briskets. And so...
Which will fuck up what? The tenderness of it?
It'll fuck up the tenderness. It'll fuck up the taste, the texture, everything, dude. And brisket is a finicky piece of meat. Like if you don't treat it right, it's going to come out disgusting.
Right.
There's no in between. It's either you hit it out of the park or shit's whack.
Right.
There's no other way to deal with it. And so we can only make a limited amount. And if you were to look at Franklin's, Terry Black's, or any one of the big barbecue joints in Texas, by 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, they're sold out.
Right.
And their schedules are, we open 11 a.m., we close when we sell out. That's it.
I guess the comparison would be like chicken takes a while to cook, right? That's not your traditional like red meat, like you said, right?
Yeah.
10 to 15 minutes, you have your chicken, especially in a restaurant setting, that 40, 45 minute, slower heat, longer time, get that juicy tenderness of it. So, to put it in perspective, I guess in my own brain, it's like at 1 after your lunch rush, you might have gone through your 8, 9 trays of chicken that you made in the morning. But now you can go ahead and throw on another 4 trays and be ready for your 2 o'clock rush, and then throw on another 6 trays for dinner, and so on and so on.
Yeah.
In this case, you're out of your trays. You're starting the next 24-hour cycle at the end of the day, right? So there's no nothing this for the rest of the day.
So let me give you a little breakdown on how we do it. We have essentially it's a 4-day prep process for each meat. So basically, on day 1 we receive the meats.
Okay.
On day 2, we're trimming and seasoning those meats.
Okay.
On day 3, we're cooking those meats, and on day 4, we're serving those meats.
Okay.
So how that works in real time is Mondays are on Sundays. We get the first delivery of the meat for the week. It comes rotations throughout the week. On Monday, my butcher team, my prep team comes in. My butchers come in. They start trimming. They season everything. They trim everything. It goes into the walk-in. On Tuesday is the first day that my smoke team comes in. That day, they're grabbing stuff as they go. They have a schedule they follow, and they start cooking stuff. At 5, 6 o'clock in the morning is when the stuff that they started cooking on Tuesday, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, Wednesday is when it starts coming off the smoker. You have to rest it, right? You cook it, and then you have to let it rest. Right. So it goes into a warm box, and then it chills till about 11, and then that's when we start serving it.
No shit.
So on Monday...
Is someone there 24 hours in?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's why we have 4 guys, and they cycle through the entire...
Rotate.
Sometimes they do 12-hour shifts, and we have 2 guys in one day. Sometimes they do 8-hour shifts, and we have 3 guys in one day. But yeah, that's essentially how they run it.
How does that work with your margins? You're essentially paying for employees, at times that you're not open, right? So your labor cost has to be astronomical compared to, other places. Normally in a restaurant, you have like an hour before, an hour later, to open or to clean and close. And that's the time you're paying labor that's not generating income. But in this case, you're open, let's say 5-6 hours a the day. You open, let's say at 11, close by 5. That's 6 hours open. And then you're paying another 18 hours of the day, essentially, to be able to deliver this product. Has there been any challenge there on your end as far as, like, I mean, for sure it's a challenge, but like, I guess the better question is, how do you cope with this challenge? Like, how do you make enough, sales in 6 hours to justify 24 hours worth of labor?
So we run more than 6 hours, right? We go 11 to 9.
Okay, good.
Wednesday, Thursday, and Sunday, and we go 11 to 11 Saturday and Sunday. Friday and Saturday, excuse me.
Okay. Monday, Tuesday closed because
Monday,
that's
Tuesday we're
the
closed.
trim,
And that's
prep.
So those non-revenue generating hours start on Monday and Tuesday. And then they go off into the night and early mornings. And so the way we do that is we have to kind of account for that when we look at our analysis of our business. Most restaurants should be running a 60% prime. Prime is the breakdown of labor and cost of goods sold. So your COGS should be 30-30, right? 30% of your revenue should be attributed to labor. 30% of your revenue should be attributed to the cost of your goods sold. We have to figure out a way to negotiate our prices for things so that we can be closer to the 20% cost on goods sold and 40% labor. So our restaurant is super fucking labor intensive.
Right.
And so that's also one of the biggest challenges, and one of the kind of more frustrating things is when you see those Yelp reviews from people that are like, oh, bro, it's $16 for a half pound of ribs, no sides, like this is astronomical. Brother, I mean, it took an insane amount of labor to make that half pound of ribs.
Right.
And we make everything from scratch. We make our own rubs, we make our own sauces. Everything is produced in-house, and it is very laborsome. You know what I'm saying? So that has to be, we're in business to be a business, right?
We're in business to be in business, correct.
As much as we love the feel-good moments, and as much as we want to make all these really impactful things, and that's what drives us, I have a fiduciary responsibility to this business, and I need to...
Well, and to the community too, right? Because you're giving experience, standard, and quality. So it's your duty to the community to do whatever you need to make sure you can stay in business and stay open to be able to deliver these experiences and product.
Right.
1000%.
So that has to be reflected in the prices of what we do. And so we factor that in. We factor that into the cost of how we come up with everything. And fortunately, we've been able to make it work.
Nice. And I mean, being an employee there, I guess, is good too, because you're getting a lot of hours that you wouldn't get somewhere else if they were closed.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess that's a huge plus.
We're super duper fortunate that, summer in Miami is no fucking joke for anybody in this industry. And
working outside summer in Miami. Good Lord.
Yeah. So
Jeff just started sweating.
I was just thinking about it. Yeah, man. So we're blessed that we're able to maintain the levels of traffic that we've had. I've had conversations with some of my guys, some of my line guys, and they're like, bro, at every other restaurant, we would have lost our hours already because there's just we're expecting a 20% decline during the summer. And thankfully, hopefully it's the quality of the service and the quality of the food that we stand on is bringing people through our doors. And also we're very fortunate that barbecue is very much a summertime food, but we've been able to sustain that flow. And we haven't had as much of a hardship during summer as other restaurants.
Yeah, anything in hospitality gets crushed in Miami over the summer, man.
Yeah.
Let's take you down the journey of the business. Okay. And we'll kind of wrap this into today and take it from there. What was your favorite part of the business in that COVID stage? You're getting into it in your head. It's becoming a business, right? There's a heartbeat to this apocalypse. The journey kind of begins, as you can say. What are some of the things that you had to do on a day-to-day basis at that point on a business standpoint? Not cook the brisket, right? Like you, Jeff, the owner, not Jeff, the chef. What are some of those tasks look like to someone that might not know anything beyond the front of the house cashier, right? Like the guy that's never seen a barbecue kitchen in action. What does that business side look like to be able to operate that? And what parts of that do you like?
So a lot of it was just finding ways to be prepared and finding ways to be organized, which was one of the biggest opportunities that I faced because I'm a very left brain creative individual. Okay. So I'm very all over the place. And my wife will be quick to tell you that I am a fucking hot mess. And so that was a huge struggle for me because cooking at home is one thing. Like you're just like, yeah, I'm gonna make whatever. Oh shit, I didn't get tomatoes. Like now it's a different kind of burger, right? Like you can just whatever on the fly. But when you're cooking for people and they're paying for this, there's an expectation that they're going to get a certain standard and quality of product. So you can't just be like, oh fuck, I didn't get tomatoes today, so no tomatoes on your burger. So it was learning how to be organized with advanced time so that I wouldn't be walking into the kitchen. You know, we would serve barbecue on Sunday. That means we started cooking on Saturday, which means I was usually trimming on Friday. And in the beginning, one of the hardest things for me was walking in Friday, getting ready to like trim my meat, season it up, and then like, oh shit, I didn't buy enough salt. I didn't buy enough pepper or whatever. Those things used to kick my ass because now it's
you got to
Friday,
go get it and then go back and start the trimming that you should have been done by now.
Yeah. And that shit used to kill me. And a lot of times that would drive me to start cooking later, and then that would show up to my pop-ups late, and that was bad.
Right.
So learning to have that kind of organization was important. And then it was learning how to balance out all the communication that was required to educate people on what it meant to be doing the barbecue the way that I was doing it, right? And even from the very beginning, it was questions of like, well, why do you sell out during your pop-ups? And like, why don't you just bring more meat? Like next time, just throw on an extra brisket. And it's like, yeah, no, it's not. It's
no
not that
problem.
easy.
I'll just be right up, bud. Yeah.
And so it was finding a way to do that, and then finding a way to market this thing, right? You have your immediate circle of friends, and that was easy to tap into, and just be like, yo, hey guys, can you share this post? Can you share this post? And then I remember one day I tagged one of my boys and I hit him up and I was like, yo man, do you mind sharing this for me? And then he was like, yo bro, like, I love supporting you and stuff, but like not supporting you every day. Like I don't want to, and that shit fucking crushed me. I was like, damn dude, like I get it. I understood it, right? Like I 100% I understand. That's not your shit. So
it's not your business at the end of the day.
But then it was just like, fuck, man, like you want to support your boy, like
right. It's me though, bro.
Like, come on, dude. and so then I realized, like, yo, man, I can't just lean on the people around me. Like I have to get this pushed into that next sphere of people, that next group of people that are going to be able to want to be interested in this. And it was figuring out how to do that with nothing, right? At Apple, when I would put together a campaign, I was putting together a photo shoot. I had a $200,000-$300,000 budget. Like,
right.
Deal. Not here. Not here. And so that was one of the bigger challenges of like, how do I leverage the things that I had? And actually, since people are looking at this to learn, that was for me a really great opportunity to turn my disadvantages into advantages.
Yes.
And find a way to turn your opportunities into learning moments. And I leaned into the fact that I had nothing, right? And so I was like, I need to get this out there. And I knew like you couldn't get an influencer really to come to your spot unless they were really into your shit, like it was really hot, or you were paying them. Right. I didn't have any money to pay them, and my shit was not hot.
Right.
So I was like, fuck, I don't fit either one of those categories. So I would literally just be like, hey man, listen, I'm just starting off. I'm a new business, and like I'm hoping to get on the map. I know you have a dope platform, and maybe if you have a little bit of time, I'd love to like hook you up with some food if you don't mind coming to check this out. Some people, I've heard a lot of conversations lately about influencers, and some people be like, oh, that's fucked up, like you were fake marketing your shit, but like, homie, I needed to advertise.
Yeah,
right? I needed to get the word out, and this is an easy way for us, this was a way for us to establish some sort of rapport with the community and give them something to look forward to, because they saw that it was hyped up by somebody who had some sort of reputation for talking about good food.
Absolutely.
The key thing for me, I think, was, we had to follow up on the quality. We're telling
they
people,
can't walk in and then get shit.
Right. We're telling people like, you're going to come eat some dope barbecue, and you needed to make sure the barbecue was dope. So that was how we started kind of getting the word out, was just letting people know. We hit up like newspapers. Miami New Times helped us, not like they helped us out, right? But we were like, we're this up and coming.
They put something up.
And they would write articles about pop-ups and stuff, and they would include us in that. Sick. And then little by little, that started kind of building that traction for us. And that's how we were able to start getting people to participate in the business. But that was definitely a big challenge.
So a lot of the likes and the challenges that turn into goods, are in the marketing end, I see, and whatnot. What's the area of the business that you hate and you still hate, if any?
I don't know that there's an area that I hate.
That you don't like as much as the other side.
Yeah, okay. Bro, definitely like the nitty detaily stuff, like the inventory, counting, making sure that we have enough of everything, like all that organizational shit. I was very quick
delegate?
Yeah. early on, I got introduced to the concept of buying back your time.
Yes.
And finding people to be able to do those tasks.
Yes.
And I definitely think that you should focus on the things that make your heart beat harder.
Bro, it took me a long time to learn that. Like a long time.
Yeah.
And I want to say recently I've like accepted that. It's a key advice to take, man. Like at first you can't unload anything because you don't have money to pay anyone.
Right.
But the minute you have $10 to invest, keep one and put 9 into somebody that's going to do the 2 things that you don't like doing or that you suck at doing.
Yeah.
Because it's okay and it's a sense of humbleness, right? To say, yo, accounting, that's not my thing.
I think it's not our thing because we know we're not good at that thing.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Nor does it interest me to get good at that thing because I'm not going to be the world's best accountant. I'm not an accountant. I'm a business owner.
Yeah.
So let me go hire the accountant.
Yeah.
And now, it's $9. I'm only going to be left with 1. It's worth it because now I buy my time back and I can go invest that time into making that $10 $100.
Yes.
And now she's only taking 9 of the 10. I'm left with 1. But when it's 100, guess what? Now I got 91.
Yeah.
Because she's still getting 9.
Right.
And this you buy back that time. So I'm sorry, I got super excited when you I didn't want to cut you off, but keep going. But I wanted to dive in because it's so fresh to me. Like it's something I did learn recently and it was like a breath of fresh air. Stop making job titles that you think you need around you and just treat it as a traditional business and unload the shit you're not good at. Like if you're good at painting walls, like
paint walls.
Do more painting.
Yeah.
If your business is painting buildings, well then say I got all the walls and I need to hire someone to do the roof.
Yeah.
I don't do fucking roofs.
Yes.
Right? But figure that out at the point of your business where you can do that. Not at a point where your business suffers because you're doing the ceiling, but half-ass. But you got the best walls in town.
Yeah. So I think one of the harder things that entrepreneurs struggle with is letting go.
Hell yeah.
Right? Like we just talked about. I think something that we don't recognize enough is that our job as an entrepreneur, as a leader, as a CEO, as whatever you want to call it, your job is once you've created this beautiful thing and you've brought this idea to life, your job is to put together a team to run it, but not just to run it better than you.
Yes. Yes. Let it improve and be better without you part of it.
Yeah.
Right? Still part of it, still part of the DNA. The playbook is your playbook, but you don't have to run every halfback sweep. You don't have to be the halfback. You could be the offensive coordinator now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and not in a good way as in like, oh, I can do less. No, you're really good at fucking calling plays. Stop trying to run them. Just go call them.
Just go call them.
Right.
And the thing is that this should now open the opportunity for you to do what you're really good at, which is bringing ideas to life.
Yes.
I don't know, I can't think of a different expression right now, but like, not everybody can be a chef. Some people need to be cooks. Not everybody can be a chief. Some people need to be Indians, whatever, however you want to word that.
Andy Frisella says the world needs fry cooks too.
Yes, dude. And it's factual. Like, yo, there are people in this world who are exceedingly good at doing what some people would consider mundane tasks. The difference is what you and I consider a mundane task to them is fucking exciting.
Right.
Yo, there's people that get excited about adding fucking numbers up. I think that shit is like, I'd rather stare at this fucking wall. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just me. But then there's people that look at cooking a dish together like that is the most horrific fucking painful experience.
Yes.
They hate fucking cooking.
Yes.
And to me, it's like, yo, I'm going to bring something to fuck. The other day.
Life.
No, so I just recently, I can't say I hate sushi anymore. I used to say I don't like sushi at all.
Yo, that's wild.
I was never like a big guy. And then I don't know what the fuck happened. A switch flipped in my brain. And now all of a sudden me and my wife are like eating sushi, which is great for her because she likes sushi. And so the other night we ordered some sushi and we finished eating. And then she like looks at me. She's like, oh, we should do like a sushi making class one day. And I shit you not, 30 seconds later, her sister texts her and says, yo, tomorrow night at my house, we're going to roll sushis and roll joints. You know?
No shit.
And so I'm like, fuck it, let's go, whatever. Like, let's go do this. And I've never made sushi before. So we're here and we're fucking... So my wife will tell you that she hates when I get in the zone with shit like that.
Sure.
Because like there's no competition, but to me it's a competition and I'm going to win.
I need the best sushi here now.
I need to be the best fucking roll in this house. Never made a sushi roll, but I'm going to be the best motherfucking sushi roll. And so I started getting fucking into it and I'm like dicing these little bits of mango and trying to come up with... Yo, man, I put my fucking heart into it because... Yeah, I wanted to win in my head, but also like I wanted to give people something really beautiful to talk about and to come together over. That's what fucking making food is about, dude. It's giving you that fuel to create that memory. And so that drives me.
The idea of breaking bread together.
Yeah.
Not bread, like a bread, a loaf of bread. Like there's that desire behind it.
Yeah.
So did you win the sushi rolling or what?
I mean, there wasn't a competition. Yes, I won, but it wasn't a competition. I'll say my brother-in-law Gabe came up with some really dope. He did some cool X's and shit, and it was fire. I'm still better than him, but
Yeah,
it was
for
fire.
sure. I mean, it was fire. I mean, yours was more fire, but like it was pretty good. It was pretty good. You know what I mean? So that's amazing, dude. That's amazing. So, Jeff, before we wrap up, I wanted to essentially tap into. We spoke about Apocalypse. We spoke about Jeff. Throughout, right? Kind of starting in high school, moving into your health story, moving into pandemic, and then moving into this business, getting a heartbeat. Now the business has a heartbeat. I want to take the listeners to now, like, what does Jeff think about today? What's to come from Jeff, and obviously all the elements of Jeff, like Apocalypse, like personal passions that you might be coming, maybe some marketing, what's the word I'm looking, unfinished business, right? Where you maybe not do you get that itch every once in a while? I mean, what does that look like? And without you don't have to blow any surprises or anything if there's anything in the pipeline, but what is Jeff working towards currently as far as entrepreneurship?
So I think I have like 3 categories that I'm filing everything that I try to do into one of 3 categories.
Do not tell this guy about filing ideas, because my whole life is a Dropbox basically, and it's a folder and a folder and a folder and a fucking folder. Yeah.
So I'm looking at one category is like, what's going to grow Apocalypse, or what's the next concept we're going to do. Okay. I think the second category is how are we helping unite this community, and how are we peeling back the layers on the onion and kind of getting rid of the gatekeeping and creating some sort of space for people to come together. And then the third category is
in the hospitality business, or in Apocalypse as a place?
In the hospitality business.
Awesome.
I love the phrase community, not competition. I use it a lot as a hashtag. I hate when people try to put us up against other barbecue spots. It used to happen a lot in the beginning with my boy Carl with Hate Mondays. They used to try to make us beef. Now I feel like it's happening a lot with this barbecue spot called Harry Smoke and Dough. Okay. I haven't had the pleasure of trying their stuff yet, but I have no fucking reason to hate on anybody. I want everybody to fucking succeed. And everything I've heard about them is that their shit's fire. And so if they're doing really dope shit, Miami needs that dope shit. And they should be fucking...
That should help you on the education part, right? Where the more people get educated on actual good barbecue, then the more they're going to be able to recognize it when they go to Apocalypse.
Yeah, facts.
So it's not a bad thing, right? And besides, nobody could eat the same restaurant every day.
Yo, and even if they could, right? There's what, like 4 million people in fucking Miami-Dade proper or whatever? I don't know. More than 1 million for sure. I don't know what the number is, but...
A whole shitload of us, I'll tell you that.
There is an insane amount of fucking people in this city. I can fit 49 people at a time in my restaurant. Right. There's more than enough food on the table, dude. Even if we all opened 100 bars, like, walk in any direction in this city. How many restaurants are you going to walk by in the span of a mile? You know what I'm saying? They're everywhere, and they all have business coming in the doors if they're doing shit right. The ones that fail aren't being drowned out because of competition. They're failing because they don't give a fuck. They opened with the idea of like, we're going to do this to make money, or they lost sight of their passion and they stopped putting in that effort to give consistent quality of service and food. And so people stopped coming through the doors. People are quick to vote with their dollars, bro.
It's like saying if Jordan shoes, when you wore them, fell apart, Jordan shoes would not be Jordan shoes.
Nah,
but
dude,
let me tell you, I've had some J's since high school, and they still look fucking good.
Yeah.
The glue's still on.
The glue's still on.
You know what I mean?
I will say I had an experience the other day where that didn't happen. But it was my bachelor party, and I had a pair of 4s, white cement 4s. I love sneaks.
Sure.
So I hadn't worn these shoes. I bought them. I'd worn them 3 times. I had a problem when I first started collecting sneakers that I wouldn't wear my shit. And I've since
sit in
killed,
boxes.
Yeah, bro. I've since killed that, and now I wear my shoes. Very carefully. Sure. And I clean them often, but I wear
trash bags around them some days.
So fucking, I have toe protectors inside of these right now so that they don't crease. I fucking hate that, but I wear them. I'm wearing them, right? So that's
absolutely,
all that
it's a stunt.
And so
literally,
these were literally These were like the fourth time I wear these fucking J's, and I'm in Austin. I took these to my bachelor party, and I'm walking through Target, and the fucking glue on the bottom of my right shoe.
Stop buying fake Jordans, Jeff.
Papi, those were, I waited in line for those, all right? I was a sneakerhead before this shit was cool and you had a little bot to buy this shit. I had to wait in line at Dayland outside in the parking lot at midnight.
What was the shoe gallery releases would always be insane. You're in downtown like a homeless for real, waiting for the shoes the next day, and you're like, what am I doing with my life?
What's going on
right now? And then 7 people are texting you, yo, hold the spot. Bitch, I've been here for 12 hours.
Yeah.
Come get your own spot.
Fuck you. Yeah, I remember that.
Let me, I'm going to hit you with our last question that we asked people.
I feel like, my bad. I feel like I was answering a question and then we got deviated and I didn't ever finish it.
Because of the J's, but I don't remember what the question was.
That sucks. I think we were going somewhere good.
Yeah? It was about what's next for Jeff.
No.
I brought up J's because the good quality of the shoe and how it keeps people buying them because they don't fall apart.
It was about community. We were talking about building community, right? And peeling back the onion on community. And I had just mentioned how there's other joints out there that are dope and people try to pit us against each other. And I'm not here for it, dude. I love friendly banter, right? I'll go back to Falco because I would go on Instagram and I'd be like, yo, he has a spot called Crybaby, makes incredible ice cream, and the second best cookies in Miami. Apocalypse happens to be the first.
happens to be
the first, Bro, we've been going back and forth with Arnold forever. Reality is that his cookies are fucking fire. He has one. I make a chocolate chip cookie, right? We make one chocolate chip cookie on our menu. He has a bunch of different flavors of chocolate chip cookies and ice creams because that's what they do.
It's more of that place.
And he's got one cookie called the fucking Ooey Gooey that I swear to God, if someone told me right now to have one, I'd have to shoot you for it. You'd be fucking dead. Like, that's a really good fucking cookie, But I love the friendly banter side of things. I love the competitive side of things to push us forward. I'm not here to try to fucking shit talk your business or like knock something down. Like, yo, bro, there's more than enough food on the table. Let's bring everybody together. Let's pool our fucking resources. Let's move as one. And we will all be better for that.
I feel like Miami's missing that as a whole, not just hospitality, but like there's the individualism in Miami is noticed a lot more than other places. And when you go to other communities or cities, it could be the same business, but it's just treated so differently, right? I mean, I always do the comparison of Nightlife because it's what I have a direct association to compare. But like you go to Las Vegas, which would be the pinnacle of nightlife, if you ask most people in the United States.
Yeah.
Bro, they all help each other out there. Like me coming from Miami nightlife where it's very like, fuck you, cutthroat. That's my client. If you talk to him, I'm gonna kill you. Like, like that very like, this is mine, get away, feel. And then we go to Vegas and we're noticing like, bro, not every venue opens every day, just like here. Mm-hmm. So if a client's in town from Thursday to Sunday and the venue you work at is closed on Thursdays, well, you want to like give a good service and put the guy down wherever he wants to go on Thursday nights.
Yeah.
In order to do that and actually look good, you need to be friends with the guys that work in the other places.
Yeah.
And guess what you just did? You just sent him business on a night you're closed. Guess what he's going to do on Sunday when his venue's closed?
Right back to
Send you business right back. Yeah. And then, bro, you need to zoom in every time I do this because like the goosebumps are fucking real and it's for a reason. That feeling you get of like, we're all in this together, to not sound corny or
but we are.
And we're all going through it. Guess what? No VIP host out there in Vegas was like making $1.7 trillion a year and could just like fuck you, I'm gonna buy you. Like there was no, they were all, guess what? Trying to make more, trying to do more, trying to get more clients, trying to get the next account, wait, you're from Miami? My clients go to Miami. Can you help me out in Miami? Oh, now we're spreading outside of Vegas and this and that, and it's all good. And then, I mean, it's funny. 9 out of 10 people, it was always one of two things. Oh, you're from Miami? Cool. Where are you from? Oh, my parents are Cuban. Oh, dope. What part of Mexico is that? Fuck you. Right? Like, what are we talking about here? So that was number one. That was kind of a quick jab. Number two was always, oh, Miami? Man, how do you guys work at night, bro? Like I got in like 4 text fights when I visited last time and I was the guest. Like it's so like whack, right? Like it gives you that feeling. And then if you look at the numbers, I mean, travelers to Miami Beach have been going down and down and down and down for years because why would you come back? You're getting treated like shit. Yeah. So I wanted to tie that, my experience as far as like how Miami nightlife does something and how Las Vegas nightlife, which would be a direct comparison, does it completely different.
Yeah.
And how obviously the desert has been a lot more successful in nightlife than we've found a way to be, right? So maybe it works.
Yeah.
Right?
It does, bro. It does.
What kind of unifying, or what are some of those thoughts, right? Like how can we as a community, not just Jeff, people in hospitality, how can we move closer to that common goal? Because I think we both have that goal in mind, right? Where mine's more in the entertainment space, not so much hospitality, but that same creating like the ecosystem where it's like, we don't all have to share the table, but we could all sit at it and talk.
Yeah. Brother, I think the foundation of that is just starting off with building relationships. You know, it's reaching across the aisle and being like, yo, man, like, you good? What's up? How are you? Like, just saying hello. You know what I'm saying? And no, you never know what skills and talents a person has. You don't know what you don't know, right? And so there might be something, and it could be across multiple industries, right? There might be something you need where you have a client coming in and they're looking to do some dope event, whatever, and at some point they need something to eat, bro, and you just need somebody to hook you up with some really fire Japanese sandwiches.
Sure.
And you hit me up because I'm in the food game and I don't make Japanese sandwiches, but I happen to know that there's someone out there like Sando who does fucking really cool Japanese sandwiches, right? Or maybe you need somebody that's gonna fucking do sake bombs for you. And I know a spot called Shoujo Dojo that does fucking dope sake. They brew their own shit. It's super awesome. So it's just getting to know people and having relationships so that you can reach out to each other and just connect on things. And the relationships are really what's gonna build that. It's what's gonna put people together and say like, once you start realizing how nice it is for somebody to scratch your back, you're gonna want to scratch somebody else's back.
Hell yeah.
So
hell yeah. And coming from an entrepreneur, and I'm sure you're gonna agree, being the little guy that was scared to ask questions, I get it.
Yeah.
Right? It's intimidating. You have this what do people call it? Imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Where it's like,
oh yeah,
this is what I do, but like, do I really know what I'm doing? You know, and like, am I credible enough to be doing this? Is someone gonna tag me on Instagram and call me a fake? You know, like all these crazy thoughts that one builds in their own head, which is all bullshit at the end of the day, right? Who the fuck cares? But I see that. Like I'm thinking 19-year-old me waiting outside, or maybe I wasn't 19, but 21-year-old me waiting outside a Cameo.
Motherfucker, you were 19. I was there.
Waiting outside a Cameo on a Thursday at 2 p.m. trying to like catch the owner because I wanted to work out my own deal.
Yeah.
I think about that now and still like I get like butterflies in my stomach.
Yeah,
like,
bro.
But I had the balls to go at 2:00 and fucking open the door and walk in like it was my place. And like inside I was freaking the fuck out. But on the outside, guess what? I did have the meeting and I ended up, running a very successful party there for a year and a half, 2 years. I made a good amount of money from it, right?
Yeah.
So I get the intimidation part. But being on the other side of the communication, I fucking love when a younger person, younger not age, right? Younger in the journey of business.
Yeah.
They could be older than me, but they just started this new passion that they have. And they come up to me and they say, hey, bro, it always kind of starts with the, hey, bro, you got a sec? And
I know where this conversation is going.
It's like, yeah, I got a sec. And by sec, I mean I can do you a favor. What do you need? So then it's like, I was thinking and, maybe one day I can maybe pass by the office. I'll bring coffee and like, can I sit with you or like buy you or like, bro, if I could just like maybe just watch what you do on payroll days. And then you're kind of like, bro, shut the fuck up, right? I like those questions. Do you?
I love it.
I love when someone younger in their journey comes and says, hey, man, you got a sec? Like, I need some advice on this.
Yeah.
I love that, bro, because if not, I wouldn't be fucking doing this podcast. I got better shit to do in my time right now.
Yeah,
I'd rather
facts.
talk with you with a little coffee off camera, right? Like, we're doing this to provide that value to the guy that maybe is like, yo, you know what? I've been wanting to ask this guy at my job a question for like 6 fucking months. I can't sleep at night. Tomorrow, fucking Jeff almost died. Jeff is fucking asking everyone questions. I'm going to ask a question tomorrow.
Please do. Someone that's out there needs to ask a fucking question. Ask the fucking question.
Then the podcast was already worth it.
Yeah,
One
facts.
question, right? So I guess why I kept circling to the question, even though the answer was already given, is like, guys, don't feel intimidated, right? This is a process that everyone goes through. Even the person you think that's super successful at what they're doing didn't like wake up one day successful at what they were doing. They had to go through the journey of gaining success points. And then eventually
Facts.
you cross the threshold of like, all right, successful. And then the journey beyond that is how do I get more successful, right? But once you cross the threshold is when the next person's looking and says, oh man, how do I be like him?
Mm-hmm.
And I always had a mentor of mine or someone that I grew out of that would always say like, bro, from the outside when you don't know, you think it's like a rocket ship and it can fly to the moon whenever the fuck it wants. Like it's this perfect living organism that to you, it's like, bro, I wish I had that. And then like you end up meeting the owner or you see the operation of the place and it's like, yeah, it's a rocket ship, but it's held up with duct tape and hangers and you know, all the trials and kind of struggles that any entrepreneur goes through, right? So there is no question of that, but you would confirm and advise, ask the fucking questions, bro. Here's the worst thing that could happen. And I can get it out of the way for you. Ready? Hey man, can I ask you a question? No, I'm busy. All right, did anybody die?
Nope.
Okay, so go ask the fucking questions. Get turned down. Who cares? You didn't go on the first date with your significant other because you asked, you know, like you probably got rejected by girls in the past, right? You didn't marry the first girl that you dated, right?
Yeah.
So like go through the process. Jeff, I'm gonna hit you with my last question here and I wanna make sure I hit the right words. So I'm big on journey. Everything is a journey to me, you know? Energy exchange, that's part of the journey. I think you're big on energies and things coming about. So why are you in this journey that, you know, we call business? Why not go work at the best barbecue spot, right? Like why do we do this to ourselves?
Yo, that is a really great fucking question because a lot of times in the journey of doing this, we find ourselves at roadblocks that really make us question whether or not we want to keep going. And sometimes you don't really see where this road is going and you're like, fuck it, I just want to turn back, go sit on my comfortable chair.
Yes. I know that road.
Yeah. I mean, we're all walking it. But it's about building something that's going to last, right? We talk about building community. That's an important thing. We talk about inspiring the next generation. That's huge. We talk about bringing people together. And when you put all that stuff in one, you're talking about creating a legacy. And I don't just mean the legacy of the person that's building it, the legacy of the idea. That idea is going to stand for something because eventually I will die.
Right.
And with me will go apocalypse. But maybe, hopefully, 5-6 generations from now, someone will have gone to a barbecue spot that they used to go to when they were kids with their parents, and they'll remember that they had a little cafecito sauce. And they'll be tinkering around in the kitchen saying, damn, I want to make something dope. And there was that fucking sauce I had when I was a kid. Like, I wonder what was in it. And they'll start fucking making shit.
Sure.
And
making shitty sauces until they find a good one.
Until they fucking figure it out. And it won't be my sauce. Right? My sauce will have long gone, but it'll have inspired something new and hopefully something better. And that will continue to live on. And that will then be the next version of shaping that community. And that's why we do the shit that we do.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Actually, if you don't mind.
I thought you were going to take your shorts off or something, bro. The show was getting weird in here.
I can do that. I wasn't prepped. I didn't think this would come up in the conversation, but it did. And now I want to read this quote because I think it's really important. There's this really great quote by George Bernard Shaw, and it goes like this. This is the true joy in life, that being used for a purpose, recognized by yourself as a mighty one, the being a force of nature instead of a feverish, selfish little clod of ailments and grievances, complaining that the world will not devote itself to making you happy. I am of the opinion that my life belongs to the whole community, and as long as I live, it is my privilege to do for it whatever I can. I want to be thoroughly used up when I die, for the harder I work, the more I live. I rejoice in life for its own sake. Life is no brief candle for me. It is a sort of splendid torch which I have got to hold for the moment, and I want to make it burn as brightly as possible before handing it on to future generations.
That is spot on to everything you just said. Who'd you say said that?
George Bernard Shaw.
Okay.
And that is exactly what it is, dude. We don't live for the dates that are on the tombstone. It's not 1987 to whatever the fuck the last one is. We live for the dash. And we have to set that fucking dash on fire.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
The tombstone needs to have a little fire emoji on top of your dash.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
So you would say it's inspiring. It's the ability to inspire yourself and everyone to come after.
Yeah.
Is the reason that you do this and wake up every day inspired. And when you get to that wall, you called it a wall. My analogy is a little different. I say that I pave the road every day. Mm-hmm. So basically there is no road every time I wake up, and we're going to pave a little bit of the road. And along the way, you might notice that you're paving the road in the wrong direction. We got to go back this way. We got to go back that way. But similar thing, right? When you hit that wall, you get by the wall by knowing that there's people out there that might know already or will know in the future that they want to do something that coincides with what you're doing. And they can take inspiration from what you're doing and what you've done to then go and be able to do what they want to do. Yeah. Whether it's a sauce, barbecue, or anything else in between. Yeah. Be the dash and light the shit on fire.
Fuck yeah.
Jeff, I love you, man. I'm so glad we got to sit down. We haven't been able to speak in years. And it's to me, it's like happened so quick, right? Like the other day you were driving a white Galant. Yeah, I knew you were gonna crack up. Shit, that was 18 cars ago. Fuck. Okay, the other, like, we were outside of Bobby Gilardi's house like it was tomorrow. Like it was 3 days ago, and you were always a good friend. You were always a genuine human. Which, looking back at the adolescence, like it's kind of hard to find in young minds, right? There seems to be a little bit more of a me when you're younger, because you haven't learned enough about life to realize that, like, it's more of us and you, not me. But you always had that you, us kind of vibe. You're always going to be Cupcake to me. My bad, dog. Papa Cake, Cupcake. I love
it, baby. I love it.
This is a genuine human being that now has a genuine business. Is somebody that is providing for you and yours, right, with this business, but you're also providing so much for the community. I hope to see more and more apocalypses to come, not COVID, but like the barbecue spot. Cut that apocalypse out for my rest of my life. And I just want to thank you for your time, man. I know it's not an easy operation to run. You're selling brisket right now, so you taking the time to come over here means the world to me. I didn't have to ask twice. It was like, yo, what's up? And you're like, when? Let's go, baby. I want to thank you for that, man, from the bottom of my heart. More so because it's a friend supporting a friend.
I love it.
And sometimes in life you forget things, and things like this always kind of bring it back full circle, man. Facts. So thank you for the time. Thank you for your commitment to the community and to the product that you're putting out. I haven't heard a person say the rib sucks. That's hard in Miami, where everybody has an opinion, right?
Facts.
So you're doing something right. Please keep doing it. Please keep paying it forward. And whatever we can do here at Cultura or Rockwell or Bryan, a.k.a. Mr. B Money from back in the day, please, man, call us. We're a call away. We're here for you. And thank you so much, man.
Brother, I really appreciate it. And I'll say the same to you, dude. I got mad love for you. It feels like it's been 5 minutes since the last time we spoke, which is really wild. I don't think people really are going to believe that it's been fucking years since the last time we chatted. And I think the coolest thing about what you're doing that really blows me away is that, at some point in everybody's life, they had to learn how to use a spoon. And you're really giving them that opportunity. And you're really opening the door to kind of giving that education to people and letting people know that it's okay to not know something. And it's okay to want to learn something. And it doesn't matter if you're fucking 50 years old and tomorrow you want to change your career, dude. It's A-okay to switch gears and figure it the fuck out.
Absolutely.
And this is a super fucking dope platform that is going to enable a lot of people to chase their dreams and hopefully make those dreams come true, man. And that is going to shape the world we live in. And that's fucking dope.
I'm here to put smiles on faces, and you put one on mine, you motherfucker.
Hey.
All love.